like to find that rhythm and can run quite a distance once they do.
Beautiful shot. They whip out and the triple.
NBK puts us down to a 1v1 and wins it. Takes down one. Jay takes down two. Make that two on top.
Jay! Mo doesn't know, or does he? He wraps around with the pistol. Indy doesn't even react.
Like a beanie. Oh my God!
We've said goodbye to our very first team in Element 1, unfortunately. Sway will have to wait until next time to compete. But now we have another big match on our hands, and our second best of 3 of the day. It is Chunnar against Carry the Boats. 2 teams, as we've already mentioned, that maybe shouldn't have been here, but one of them, especially the first invited team to face elimination, it's Carry the Boats here in a best of 3 more early than I think they thought, and I think we thought.
And both being here, as you said, earlier than we thought, in 2 different ways. Chunnar had to forfeit to wildcard Aces after suffering a loss to Karn & Co. on the first playday, when it seems like, as time has gone on, wildcard Aces was probably a team they could have very well beaten. But of course, they weren't able to field the roster, and now they find themselves here. Then we get to Carry the Boats, where they suffered 2 very close 7-5 losses. The last one especially, as we'll mention later and highlight a bit more later, they lost Sweater in place of Giddy, who, good player as he is, didn't exactly show up that day with an 0-9 performance, despite huge efforts from many other players on Carry the Boats. So 2 close losses have led Carry the Boats here, and unfortunately a forfeit is probably what caused Chunnar to be in this position too.
I mean, that's just the reality of it. Couldn't field the roster for one day, and just like that, you end up here against Carry the Boats, a lot of former pro talent, and you're playing for your lives. Here's Chunnar, the team that's going to be playing in that uphill battle. You've only seen them once, so not too upsetting if you don't already know who these faces are. It's Whitlock, Trebmac, Mikey, Senvale, and Tragical. And in the one game that they played, they boasted some decent but subpar statistics. Nothing devastatingly bad, though. I mean, a decent rating, mixed on the entry, but not overwhelmingly negative. So they did have some pretty positive moments against a strong team like Karn & Co. especially. You look at the other side, and that's where things get a bit tougher. Let's look, though, at them as a team on their stat line. You can see in terms of that entry conversion, that's obviously an even 50-50 and stands out because we just saw 100% just on that previous series.
True.
But every time that they get that kill, right, they're just not able to push that advantage through and take the win like we saw from CNE.
These are also the kind of stats, I mean, that if you were to put an array of statistics in front of me, no team names, no map, but just the stats and the score the game ended, and you ask me, what scoreline do you think this fits a 7-4? I'd be like, yeah, I'd say that fits a 7-4. Any team, honestly, losing that 50-50 entry conversion, rating hovering around 0.9 to 1 area, big performances, low performances, it's about, honestly, where you'd expect. It just so happens that it's the one game they've played, at least in the beta stage of Element 1. Obviously, they are a qual team, not an invited team, like our second team of the night, Carry the Boats, who have only played 2 maps in Element 1, and both goes at the bat were very, very close misses, but still with some positives.
Yeah, it was subtle, right? They didn't just lose by any dramatic margins. We looked at, 2 best of 1s that easily could have gone either way. It's small things. I mean, you pointed out Giddy coming in as a sub and having a lackluster performance. It's a small thing like that. It's a small thing like just little mistakes here and there, finding this coordination as a team of people who aren't used to playing together necessarily. It's just ironing out all those little kinks, right? And this is a perfect time to do it. In a best of 3 format against sure, an unfamiliar opponent, but one that you're going to have a little time to feel out. It's not a best of one, that unpredictable kind of anything can happen space. It's a lot more controlled and a lot more typical for competitive Siege. They even have a little cushion, right? If they do have some issues with that coordination, they can go back to the drawing board and take the next 2 maps. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and also if we want to throw up 2 players to talk about on both of these teams, one is especially pertinent on Carry the Boats, being Sweater, who was absent from the second game that they played. As I mentioned earlier, Giddy subbed in, didn't drop a single kill, and promptly exited, waiting to be called up if need be. But Sweater, the guy he replaced, solid showing in the first game despite the loss, good cost, good entries, but also what I want to talk about are these deaths traded. Sweater at a solid 25%, so when you're losing that, you're not only losing a player who gets kills and gets traded a decent amount and then is subbed in for somebody who didn't show up, unfortunately, but then you have Trevmac, who's also in a very good spot. Sure, maybe not a lot of entries, but his cost is high, but almost 40% of his deaths are traded, one of the highest numbers inside of Element 1. Sure, it's just from one game, and that's going to be the asterisk with a lot of the discussion from Chunnar tonight. It was only from one game. It was only from a 7-4 loss to Karn&Co and Chalet. But we have to talk about what is in front of us, and in this case, maybe now that Sweater is back, he's an entry that not only can get his deaths traded, but get kills before leaving the world. And also somebody on Chunnar who maybe doesn't get a lot of those kills, but at least can create space by sacrificing himself. There's a decent amount of action in the early round and a lot of different ways it could unfold.
Well, looking at the map history for Carry the Boats, we've only seen him play Chalet and Oregon, 2 classics that we've already seen tonight in that first best of 3, and maps that we will likely see again. Oregon is going to be the first pick. That will be Chunnar's choice, as Carry the Boats will elect to start things off on the defensive side, and not going to see a map like Clubhouse, a map like Border. We're going to see Chalet as well. So already 2 maps that Carry the Boats have already played so far this season.
And actually, when I was looking at this game, these were the 2 maps I expected to see, mainly because for Carry the Boats, they had a couple options. Skyscraper is their permaban, and at that point, before you get to the map picks, in my opinion, your options are ban Oregon or ban Theme, especially because of the circumstances that Chalet lost. I figured they were going to pick it, especially because of how much pro talent is on this team, the ability to recover from those very minimal mistakes, and honestly just extenuous circumstances that you can't always predict. I figured they'd pick Chalet, but Oregon going through, again, this is a map that Carry the Boats did lose, but by a very close margin, and also a map that Chunnar, being, you know, a bit more default, a bit newer of a team, are going to be a lot more comfortable on. So these maps for Carry the Boats, despite the fact that they have lost both map 1 and map 2 in the series, or the games they played so far, honestly isn't that surprising. I think because of how close it is and fixing those mistakes, I think this actually favors Carry the Boats because of the confidence they have in letting both of those maps go through.
I mean, obviously, Chunnar have played Chalet. That was their one game that they had under their belt, 7-4 loss to Karn&Co, but like you said, Carry the Boats, they've played both of these already. Villa, our decider, right? Didn't even mention that yet. The same maps, literally the same 3 maps we just saw in the previous best of 3. So maybe we'll see Villa this time, but we'll definitely see Chalet. So we'll at least get to showcase 1 new map so far tonight, at least in the second series. And here are the predictions, of course, the coin flip and all. But the only person not going with Carry the Boats, that is our good friend Harrison Crowbroder. He is, of course, boasting the top 76% prediction percentage, so maybe we've got to listen to what he has to say.
And John,
yeah,
I will not stand for this fellow slander. He's at 76% too, Jonah. Did you just forget him?
They're tied. They're tied. My mistake.
They are, as a duo, leading the scoreboard in prediction percentage, and you just forget him?
I mean, we're tied too. Look at that.
That's true. We are technically tied for last, perhaps, but tied nonetheless. So we all think Carry the Boats are winning, except for Harrison, who is fairly confident in Chunnar's chances. But again, because of the maps that are selected, and call me fallacious thinking, or say I have fallacious thinking, because I'm going to make an appeal to authority. But if you have players like Spiker or Drip or Sweater former pro talent all across the roster. I have to think if they're letting Oregon and Chalet through after two very close losses, one of which, honestly, based on the performances, if they have Sweater in, they probably win and aren't even playing this best of three right now. I think they should be able to close this out. This isn't the same situation as maybe like a CNE and a Sway, though I do think Carry the Boats on paper are just a step ahead of Chunnar. But I do think that the prep will probably just be a little better here. The players might just be a higher caliber pound for pound. But considering this is Chunnar's map pick to start, Jonah, and considering it's a very default map, it's not out of the question that Chunnar win this first one.
I mean, this is the kind of territory that the quote-unquote underdog teams need to go to. So if you're arguing that Chunnar are the weaker team here and then need to do something unpredictable, or they need to rely on that more default stuff, this is exactly the map bans that they could have hoped for, right? And you pointed this out earlier. It's Oregon. This is as standard of a siege map as it could possibly be. And Chalet, it's not far from it. The big concern for them is going to be addressing the experience, the counter-stratting, the just reps that Carry the Boats have had on maps like this, and these maps specifically. So the operator bans now are focused, though, as the speculation can stop and we can actually see exactly what we are going to get into in map number 1. The Ying ban coming out first, something that catches our eye because we did not see that on Oregon earlier, but we did mention it, how important it is to remove those Candelas from play. The Fenrir, though, of course, that defensive ban, as well as the Azami, not surprising at all.
Sorry, I just started laughing.
Yeah, what are you doing over there?
Spiker asked in chat, Senville, why do you be blocked on Twitter? I just thought that was funny. Anyway, beside the point. As the operator ban phase concludes, I think Carry the Boat's taking out the Ying against a team like Chunnar, who are often going to be a little bit less coordinated, and will use operators like Ying to mitigate or erase some of the mistakes or some of the weaknesses that they might have. Is a very good pick. That Fenrir Azami ban is part of that. It's not even triumvirate anymore. It's 4 people. I don't even know what you call that in Latin or Roman or whatever it is. Those 4 operators that are oh so powerful, Fenrir and Azami, will both be taken off the board. That leaves Valk, and more importantly in this case, Solus. Spiker has decided to pick her, use her Specchio scanner to find drones around the map, and honestly alongside that Mira to kind of provide some backline support as well on the bomb site. Watching angles like Freezer to make sure nobody can just push up super aggressively. Decent operator lineup, all things considered.
The Solus will be interesting because the second most frequently banned defensive operator, not banned here on this iteration of Oregon, in favor of the Azami and the Fenrir. So gotta keep an eye on how that Solus scanner comes into play, and that lethal verticality that they bring to the table as well. So something that Chunnar will have to deal with, as they are the ones to kick things off on the attack. It's their map pick after all, so Carry the Boats reasonably wanted to start things off on defense, and understandably will head to the basement to start off this round. The Solus, arguably much less powerful on this site compared to the Dorm's Oregon counterpart that it is. Not a lot of vertical destruction possible on a site like this, so Spiker is going to get involved on the early roam and look to pressure, maybe deal a blow to the drone economy in the information game of Chunnar, rather than focusing on dealing with the diffuser going down in the post plant.
He got 4 drones to start, almost found out on that roam clear as Tragical got him with those Inox scanners, and Trev Mac with a spray through the wall did some damage. It even cut off his rotation a little bit. But as the sledge fell off the angle, Spiker was able to rotate back, and well, about a minute 15 wasted, 4 drones destroyed, now 6 total, but not necessarily from Spiker's efforts. A decent showing in the first half of the round for Carry the Boats' defense. Senville also put to below 50 HP, though, again, for the next 45 seconds, you'll mainly just be opening hatches. Won't be too far in harm's way. Carry the Boats have a decent amount to show for this first part, doing even more damage to the drone economy, and Drip might not have been droned on bottom Freezer. Oh, but he doesn't even react as Mikey flies around the corner. So might have taken the attack off guard, but that's still a kill going the way of Chunnar, and the opening one at that.
Yeah, the opening kill and a good bit of damage dealt onto Wimpy. The Mira in an uncomfortable position behind the bomb chassis in Laundry. Has the mirror window facing Freezer, which is going to make any push from Chunnar very difficult from that position, but also is able to establish a crossfire with that main Laundry double door on the main stairs. As such, I think we're going to see Chunnar rotate all the way around. In the last 45 seconds, they have decided to completely rotate this attack, now trying to focus on bunker, tower, and pillar. Maybe an E-box drop in the future, but right now they're going to have to worry about this close pressure from Spiker, who's able to collect one, but not the second, as Mikey will shut him down. Trevmac tacks on another. Inrio is there to slow it down, but just like that, Chunnar are able to press through and deal with Wimpy, who is already on incredibly low HP. The opening round goes the way of the attack. Chunnar off to a good start.
Very good job getting that trade onto Spiker right around the corner. That could have thrown the entire rotation from Chunnar out of whack, but also good job reacting to information gathered quickly. We see that Mira on bottom Freezer. It's found after about maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes in the round. Once they see it, they say, all right, guys, Freezer push, probably not going to work. We'll need to get a kill maybe around Freezer, that area, but that just seems like a lot of work, because you know what? They don't have a warden. If we just throw those flashes down in the E-box, unless they hide around the wall, they should get those kills. Or they should not get those kills, because they can't see through the flashes. That helps somebody push in through bunker, and once Spiker goes down, as long as they kill the pillar guy, which they do, that rotation works very well, and that's the power of not having a warden.
We'll say it was a bold choice from Chunnar to go for such a dramatic rotation so late in the round. But again, you're seeing that coordination on full display. The fact that they were able to execute that and to do it with relative ease is extremely impressive, right? You spend so much time establishing control on the other side of the map, pressuring Freezer, pressuring Laundry, and then when so much pressure's been applied, you decide to rotate it, relying on your ability to have already established that E-box hatch, already droned out that side of the map, and then to do it with so little time remaining is a great showcase of their flexibility and adaptability that they're going to have to continue to show us, especially if they want to come out on top, is on this attacking half on Oregon, which can be so tough to do. The early fight looks like it's going to come down in tower. Mikey against Spiker. The Capcan playing close, maybe aggressively for a moment, but he will think twice, and he'll back down to the site as Mikey takes control of those tower stairs and sends his drone on in.
Now, Mira this round will mean the Freezer push could be a bit more successful, especially with Chunnar bringing 4 nades to the equation. Jackal's presence not needed as much as there aren't too many roamers around Oregon at the moment, just all concentrated down on that bottom floor. But if they do find any footprints, maybe getting those hatches could find some useful intel on another player. Mikey with the SMG-11 spots the pillar player twice, but he's got the Supernova as his primary. Any long-range engagements must be taken with that SMG-12, and that's not often the most favorable gun to use at long range. Chunnar trying to probe for a pick on bottom Freezer again, but because that Warden's in play and Laundry is usually the position for people who want to play him, don't be able to find a lurk on bottom Freeze as easily. The Wimpy not in position. That'll allow Whitlock to actually creep all the way up, and now we have a Chunnar attacker in a position to get some nades in long, or even all the way to back Laundry with no ADSs or magnets on the board.
Utility being successfully drained here as the attack continues to make their move. Starting to claw their way through this defensive setup. There is still a lot to deal with on the site. You still have those Banshees. You still have, of course, the well-trained eye of these defenders trying to slow you down. Mikey, though, doesn't seem to care. He'll step in, get the first, maybe, oh, wow, a second from him. Wimpy's been downed as well, so essentially a 3v2 favoring Chunnar right now, crossing that 30-second mark. Drip goes for the wide swing, takes the fight and wins it. Make it 2 as he takes the head of Whitlock. Looks for the third, but gives Mikey the triple instead. And now it's a 1v1 SMG-11 battle, and it will be the defense to come through in the end. Inrio onto Mikey, just barely in the end. An HP advantage like that it's going to help you come through in that situation almost every time.
The freezer push not as successful for Chunnar, even with the Mira finding herself absent. No small part because that exchange of gunfire started off with a loss for Chunnar. One player just walking up and taking a very quick headshot from Sweater's MP5. And once they commit to the freezer push at that point, they are relying on somebody overperforming or getting maybe a kill with a grenade, not having to take a gunfight. And admittedly, they come very close, especially thanks to Mikey pushing down those stairways with the SMG-11. Had he not performed that well, it likely would have been a much, much more dominant scoreline for Carry the Boats. But just unfortunately for Chunnar, when you're going in for a flood like that, and especially a one-dimensional flood down freezer stairs, if you start in a man disadvantage, it's very hard to fight back.
So a good recovery there from Carry the Boats as they will take the basement defense on their second attempt and tie us up at 1-1. We go to Dorms next as their second site of choice for round number 3, as we're going to see a pretty similar lineup from them, but this time favoring the Valkyrie and the Frost coming through. Spiker hoping to add a little bit of intel to this defensive setup, and Sweater hoping that those frost mats, those bear traps make it a little more difficult for the attack to walk on in, but it's going to be a lot easier for them now that they've already taken care of Drip. Spiker now is looking to be a nuisance as well. A quick spray onto Mikey will be what he tries to get done before he drips away. I mean, look at this. Wimpy is going to try to take the fight too. This aggression from Carry the Boats on another level right now.
But aggression that Carry the Boats have actually done before, specifically that play from Drip inside a small tower. I mean, he tried to do the same thing in that very first game they played on Oregon, and he fell just the same once Osiris found him out. Wimpy and Spiker might be a little different in terms of if they've done that play before, but they're found just as easily. Now, Dorm's defense somewhat given away, with Inrio and Sweater the only two left, and 2 minutes remaining. 7 drones for Chunnar. No nades because Whitlock's down, but smokes to cut off angles, flashes to blind their opponents, E1Ds and Inox for intel. Still so much going Chunnar's way, though a very nice shot from Sweater might just change things, but no, not whatsoever. Just 1 kill in the face of certain defeat, as now Chunnar have won not just one, but both primary bomb sites on Oregon.
Yeah, now we'll get to see hopefully another adaptation from Carry the Boats, seeing just a bit of every type of setup they could possibly conduct, but it actually might not be the case. Looks like for now we're going to see meeting and kitchen from them, so stepping away from Dorms. Maybe not a fan of exactly how that one transpired. Interesting, though, because they played that one extremely aggressively. Not necessarily the only way that you have to defend that bomb site. In fact, probably the least common way to defend that bomb site, just by swinging every single angle you could. But instead of maybe reattempting it, trying a bit of a different defensive setup, maybe focusing on a bit of an extension or more of a controlled team play on the roam instead of a lot of individual fights, they're going to rotate completely, head to kitchen and meeting now. We're going to see this site for the first time today because in our previous series, the sister bomb site of kitchen and dining was favored instead. The big difference here, Carter, I think you and I know it well, that this one is going to depend a lot more on the vertical control from this attack than anything else.
In terms of just denying that position, especially, I mean, if you want to execute dining side, making sure that the defense doesn't have control of that hatch, and also you can use vertical control a lot more actively there to open up holes to peer down into kitchen itself, excuse me. Whereas for meeting, you do still want that vertical control, but mainly just to deny that meeting hatch. You don't really need to take control of attic. Just push players back, have somebody watch, and then make sure that they can't rotate up and kill your planter as they go in for stage. We don't see any Thermites or Osas on the board from Chunnar Esports that might indicate they're instead leaning towards A, a dining attack, or B, as I was about to say, a plant in through one of these single panels on split. Senvale's opened things up with a great kill onto Spiker. Their drone economy will likely fare a lot better now that the Specchio scanner's not in play. But Senvale has placed that Senvale on that right panel very quickly, and once that Selma opens up, if Chunnar maybe get another kill, they'll move into the site and try to get the bomb down fairly soon after.
Another great start for Chunnar. This is exactly where they want to be, especially on a site like this. Now the defense a lot more vulnerable. They're going to have to be very careful about the fights that they choose to take next. Chunnar, with this advantage and with time still on their side, will use it to rotate up above, send a couple of drones in, and it appears they're not going to force the issue. They're going to really take their time here and make sure they have the proper information before making a move. They now know exactly where Drip is, and so a couple of bullets are going to start following their way towards him. A flash will come in as well. Good coverage from Sweater. He'll take care of Tragical. And another trade as Drip will end up going 1-for-1 as C4 goes up right as his head gets taken clean off. So another trade means that we still find ourselves in an even 3v3.
And not just an even 3v3, because the numbers can deceive. Whitlock and Mikey both walking into a Capcan trap set on the dorm's door, and Trevmac and Tragical being the ones to fall. That leaves 2/3 of the Chunnar attackers on half HP, and Senvale, the guy with the diffuser, his coverage is now only a couple bullets away from death. Carry the Boats also have a lot of good angles going their way. Whitlock knows somebody is likely on freezer stairs, but Inrio playing very low should be able to dodge these grenades. Oh, one that's not cooked all that well almost finds him, but he still escapes it. He's the only one left now. Both remaining site players very quickly dispatched. He'll try his best to win this one in the 1v3.
Yeah, incredible vertical coverage from Mikey, and now Senvale's going to try to get the bomb down, and all Mikey has to do is the same thing he just did for back-to-back kills. Good vertical coverage, but he's got to be perfect, because if Inrio is able to sneak around and get this kill onto Senvale, Mikey could find himself in an awkward spot in just a moment. But this will favor Chunnar all day long. So hard for Inrio to avoid the coverage from Mikey here now that Mikey knows where he is. As such, Inrio's going to rotate all the way around towards security. His position telegraphed, and Senvale's going to keep a watchful eye on it, knows exactly where he's coming from, and knows exactly how to close the round with a bang. That's round 4, goes to Chunnar, and that is a nice little cushion that they've now built for themselves.
I mean, it's a bit late, but I might even take a tactical timeout at this point. Carry the Boats have lost every single site on the defense. Sure, they won basement once, but dorms, and now the tertiary site that they went to try to trip Chunnar up to keep them guessing, and also to minimize the chances of losing a duplicate site. They're now down 3-1. They're not going to take that timeout, maybe instead save it for their attacking half, which again could still be a good play. It's not necessarily a bad idea whatsoever. But their defenses were still the better half in that Oregon game last week, and it was their attacks that were a big problem, only winning a single attack against Osiris and going all 12 rounds. They've made the improvements, then hey, saving that tack timeout to make sure that the fixed attacks actually function, that's good. But right now, you do get to go back to basement, but it's still Chunnar having success on every single bomb fight. That's a worrying metric when you're on the defense on Oregon.
Yeah, not the start they wanted, not the start I think we expected here for Carry the Boats. Chunnar right now are doing a great job of just picking this defense apart. As you said, Carter, they've done it on every single site so far. And now we get a repeat. Going to basement for the 3rd time. This has gone both ways thus far. Chunnar in a pretty good position to keep doing it. They're going to change it up a little bit and keep us on our toes by bringing out the Grim. Good timing, but Mikey survives it. Just barely. But what a read from Carry the Boats. That was nice.
That was an extremely good read. Honestly, it seemed like they kind of thought of that in the moment. If they had thought of that a couple seconds earlier, Mikey's dead, and that's the opening pick, and the biggest player on Chunnar Esports gone right now. Mikey also putting in a very, very excellent 10-2 performance after 4 rounds so far. A lot of aggression coming in from Carry the Boats on this freezer stair side. The freezer players rotated back. Sweater, on the other hand, he has not. Sees the Yana, lands the headshot. There's a second. Sends a C4 out, but the Grim, excuse me. I couldn't even believe a Grim was played. It's still all new to me. Grim backs off, dodges that C4, but that is the opening pick going the way of Carry the Boats, and the last time they did win a round, they did convert an opening pick into a victory. The only time that has happened on either front for Carry the Boats.
Impressive how successful Chunnar have been so far, despite, Whitlock on the entry having not the greatest success. He's 0-5, but Mikey's been doing a great job picking up that slack. He's as you said, 10-2. If he can find a kill or two here and neutralize this advantage, then sooner the better if you're Chunnar Esports. Because Carry the Boats, they're now even more comfortable than they were before. They knew they had a bit of damage onto Mikey, and now that they finished him off, it's a 5v3, and they are sitting pretty. Chunnar is now forced to scramble. You're going to see Senvale and Trevmac now rotating all the way around to that laundry side, hoping that they can get something done while Tragical tries to work his way down Freezer.
Ooh, he has made a lurk work, and Trevmac still has 2 nades, so if they throw one over towards Long or over towards the laundry machines, if they can somehow angle it, they might be able to push on in, and unfortunately, there goes that Freezer player with no additional kill going Chunnar's way. Now at this point, all the nades gone. This is a losing battle. They're just going to try to pad their stats.
Sweater knows what's coming, especially now that Trevmac found one.
Oh!
But he doesn't win it! Trevmac finds a way out of it anyway! Now it's a 2v2 and a very winnable 2v2 for Chunnar. They still have 3 smokes to contend with. Inrio's going to send the first one out here in just a moment. See the ex-Kairos opening up an additional angle, trying to force that smoke out, but as Senville works his way on through, the Razor Bloom will communicate his position to the defense. Trevmac through the smoke, trying to make a move. It's not going to work for Senvale, so it's going to come all down to the sledge. And he found 2 nice kills a moment ago, but he will not be able to do anything more than that. Inrio will finally shut him down and stop the Chunnar momentum. Question is, did they stop it soon enough? The second round for Carry the Boats on the board.
This is where we start facing problems. This is a very realistic 4-2 half for Chunnar, and obviously, given, just by conventional wisdom, given that they picked Oregon and knew that Carry the Boats would pick the defense, just because this is one of those maps where one side clearly does have the advantage, they'd want to make sure their attacks are on point, and so far they are, and that's especially good for a team that is kind of new, that's kind of pugging this a little bit. That's a good thought to keep in the back of your head when you are going through that decision-making, that strategizing in the map ban phase. But now on Dorms, if you're talking about strategy, Carry the Boats need to vary things up in that strategy, and pulling the operators back away from small tower, away from those forward positions on the map, and closer to the site, not necessarily bunkering completely, but just keeping it closer to where you can shoot some drones or fall off or hold a necessary or vital position like security. That's going to be the game plan. If you want, at best, a 3-3 half, don't give your life away like you did before and like you've done on previous iterations on Oregon in weeks past.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Especially considering the utility that they brought in that last round, too. I mean, something like the Frost, right? Those Frost mats, they're good if you're applying pressure to the attackers as they're walking in. If an attacker has to look at the floor while taking a heads-up gunfight, jumping into the site, that's not going to go well for them. But if you've already taken every gunfight down below, and when walking in the site itself, the attackers can just take the time to shoot out the Frost mats and not have to really worry about being swung by a defender, that's, at that point, useless utility, right? That's just a small example of why it is just so vital to play to your operator selection and try to play coordinated as best you can, because if you don't, I mean, it'll get exploited just like that. This time it was on the attacking side. Senvale, sure, he was alone, but he didn't think he was going to get wide swung by Inrio just then, but no trade is found, and Carry the Boats will take the 5v4 man advantage happily.
And that's at least the kind of, very, very in-your-face play that can work out for Carry the Boats, whereas before they were playing in, in the middle of rooms, easily dronable there. Sure, you're still gambling that they're not going to drone you, but it's a position that they might just assume is clear that they might otherwise miss, and now that Inrio has denied the hard breacher from Chunnar Esports and continues to deny map control for the rest of Chunnar as well. In order to recover this position, if they want to, they've got to rappel up and deal with him, and also the player maybe playing behind the shield and trophy or inside of attic all the way in the back of the building. And Wimpy just sitting in the corner. He's not droned either. Failure on the intel gathering from Chunnar has been their undoing in round 6 and might just give Carry the Boats a third defensive win.
Not quite yet, but just about. As, yeah, there it is. Wimpy finishing off Tragical, and Whitlock is the last man standing against 4. The only kill that Chunnar have found was, well, at the hand of Carry the Boats. A little team kill onto Drip means that Whitlock is not fighting a 1v5, but not much easier than that. Still a 1v4 and still a lot of defenders to worry about. He finds a way to silence Inrio, but the pre-fire from Spiker on that main dorm's doorway is enough to end the round and tie us up at an even half, 3-3 into the swap.
100% conversion. If your team gets the opening pick, each team does it 3 times, and each team gets 3 round wins. Funny how math ends up working. But Carry the Boats in that game against Osiris, their attacks were incredibly weak. Sometimes they came down to the wire, sometimes they were decently close, but at least just statistically, this is the side we gotta worry about on Oregon. Qualitatively, they're better than I might be giving them credit for, better than the score might suggest, but this is still the place where we need to see the improvement. Non-Oregon can sometimes be the worrying position, especially with the ease it seemed Chunnar had it, winning those bomb sites at times that we just saw. Here the Boats are going to have to make a decent argument in not only round 7, but likely round 8 as well for why they can win this game. As we move down to the basement, though, and look at Chunnar's setup, they have that Mira and that Warden, that combination down below that can make pushing Laundry and Freezer incredibly difficult, and especially for that Warden, make a back tower take difficult as well.
Yeah, this round likely to start out like any other. Spiker bringing out the Yamaru, so probably securing T3 control once this round begins, denying any rotation, at least free rotation, from the defense. Whitlock might be looking to counter that, an early presence in T2. And Spiker will quickly realize that as he has lost the drone. And that right there is enough to delay things quite a bit. I mean, I doubt Spiker's just going to rappel up, use that Gara hook to get to that top floor without doing at least a small check or rely on some teammate to give him a bit of intel. Spots the feed, but doesn't quite hit left click soon enough to actually land a bullet onto Whitlock. The Jaeger able to pass by for free, and again, slowed down Carry the Boats, pressuring in from that tower side. Just enough presence from Whitlock to keep Carry the Boats on their toes.
And we'll stop this clear for a very good amount of time. Again, you spend so much time on Oregon opening up those hatches and just spending time on the middle floor, even if there is no roam to speak of. That 30 seconds early on, if you do want to just get aggressive but be fleeting with your engagements, don't actively commit to gunfights, that can end up paying dividends. Wimpy's also spotted one player with that Inox scanner, but almost half the round gone, and Carry the Boats have yet to enter meeting or laundry or security either. But Drip, he's on that Nook. He can dodge those cameras. He still shoots it, and that will give away his position. So no lurk in the mid-round, at least at this moment. Next 30, 45 seconds or so, Jonah, this is all going to be hatches opened up, angles taken care of, utility used as well. But until then, Chunnar Esports can rest fairly easily, waiting for this utility to come through and hopefully wasting it. Because if they do that, and no kill goes for Carry the Boats, they have a decent shot at surviving their first defense.
Yeah, so far this one, the most passive, disciplined round that we've seen tonight. Really a methodical approach here from Carry the Boats and an equally methodical defense. Chunnar, they've been backing off slowly, taking their time. As soon as Wimpy goes down, I mean, they were ready for him. Another drop straight through E-Box without checking. Carry the Boats, they're going to get torn apart at every turn. Chunnar, what a hold. They just sat back. They waited for Carry the Boats to make the move, and once they did, it was over before it even began.
Indeed, and now that Chunnar have got that first victory, if they can string together one on dorms, they are in a very good position to close out this game. You win dorms, you're up 5-3. Then theory goes, you drop your tertiary site, but then if you maintain precedent on basement and dorms, you will close out the game 7-4. So this is a very important round for Carry the Boats. Not because if they lose this, they're guaranteed to lose the game. Far from it. I'm just talking about, the theoretical stuff right here, like how the game should go on paper. And as we all know with any game, with Siege in particular, the paper can only show you so much. But just to make this a little bit more comfortable, to make this a little bit easier a load on their shoulders, a very good performance, or even a win on dorms for Carry the Boats is not necessary, but very, very desirable possibility, especially after last round where they had some time wasted, but then a very slow attack to end things off. Not entirely their fault, but still a slow attack nonetheless. If they get caught off guard by some aggression, or if these black eye cameras spot them and they fall to an early C4, an early kill, could be 5-3 if a couple of these things aren't answered by Carry the Boats.
Yeah, they've got to be careful. We talked about how so far the story for Carry the Boats has been just small things that have gone wrong in the first two best of ones that have, well, resulted in them being in this elimination best of threes so early. But if they haven't fixed those small things, the story could very well be the same. Chunnar are proving to be a very capable opponent. One that has gone toe-to-toe and has largely been in the lead in this map the whole time. Other than the one round we were tied up, it's been Chunnar, Chunnar, Chunnar. And again, it's 4-3. They have the lead by 1, so it's going to come down to how Carry the Boats can really change that rhythm and maybe get this momentum back. The opening kill is going to help. A great kill from Sweater onto Whitlock is going to shut down the Jaeger that was so pesky in that last round and wasted so much time. This time, it will be less of a time problem for Carry the Boats as they've already dealt with the Jaeger 60 seconds in.
I will say that for Carry the Boats, there's no hard breach on their side, not even of the secondary kind, so going for a play and Masturbate of an Attic is out of the cards. They're going for a big window and white take, and that makes Trevmac's position in security all the more important. He's got a C4 and a shotgun to watch that window hop in, and with Mikey getting a kill as well, never mind. Wimpy's able to bring that advantage back. That's C4 gone, and they are worried about Trevmac down below. There are players around it. They're not focused on him right now, but if they are going to push from this part of the map, which they pretty much have to because of the lack of hard reach, they need to deal with that view to make sure these vertical angles don't end up being too pernicious. They know, or at least Chunnar do, know that somebody's playing inside a kitchen. A couple people are, in fact. Trevmac's got to hold the line for 15 to 30 more seconds, and the rest of the defenders need to make sure that he's not losing his life early, but as the C4 flies out and the Shark starts surrounding security, Trevmac might not be long for this world.
Yeah, he's in a very tough spot. His position known, and Carry the Boats, there they come from all sides, not allowing the Mute to survive a second longer. Frag goes up, finds no purchase. Surprising considering there are 8 drones still in play for Carry the Boats. Their information game right now should be flawless. But dealing with a little bit of an issue as they continue to open up as many angles as they can. The skeleton key from Spiker, it's going to be so helpful in a moment like this, but Senvale just takes the fight and wins it straight up. Now it's a 2v3. This became winnable for Chunnar all of a sudden, now especially as the time ticks low and the body count starts to tick up for Chunnar. There it is as the crossfire is established. It is Senvale to shut that last player down, top of white stairs, walking into their grave in an impressive clutch in the 2v4.
Big Senny boy with the kill of the round right there. That round does not go Chunnar's way if Senvale does not get that kill below Attic. Because Carry the Boat's plan was this. We have one guy watch the Attic rotate, or we have somebody at least watch dorms from below to make sure that Senvale can't play the very angle he ended up playing. It's a 2v4. One guy is going to watch white stairs. The other's going to watch big window. You take care of one, the other is easy pickings. So they have the guy below dorms to make sure that the player can't play behind the bomb chassis or play on the Attic rotator, play in dorms in general. That's why they brought the buck. But then by getting that kill, he now can watch white stairs, and that frees up Mikey to only watch big window, where usually there's only one guy playing. That is such a big kill for Senvale to get, and makes that 2v4, and honestly, a very easy round win if Mikey also gets a kill, which he does.
10 seconds remaining.
Well, Chunnar are putting on a clinic right now, and they don't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Just when you think Carry the Boats have got around, just when it looked like they were about to tie us up again, Chunnar deny it outright, and instead of a 4-4 scoreline, it is a 5-3 scoreline, a 2-round advantage for the now defensive team on Oregon. Let's not forget that Chunnar are in a perfect spot to close this one out if they can just chain a couple of more rounds together. This one will be tough. They're going to the tertiary objective. But all they need to do is win the primary sites back-to-back after this, and they will have a map win under their belt.
It's just such a must-win carry the boats. You have to win this attack right here. In the face of some decent performances from Chunnar Esports, but honestly, it's still the Mikey and Tragical show in a lot of ways, despite the fact it was Senvale, a big part of that 2v4 that we just saw. Carry the boat's a lot more even across the scoreboard, but that hasn't translated to a win so far. And now also getting the entry is not translated into a round win for Carry the Boats. On meeting now, we see the Thermite in play. Sure, no Osa, but with the Thermite, that does indicate they're trying to go for that stage plant, which means that Mikey playing inside of Attic has got to be dealt with. Not necessarily killed, but you got to make sure he can't play that hatch or can't even go for a flank later on in the round. Carry the Boats have reached a good position. They're right behind that stage wall, and now they've got a kill on Whitlock. Excellent shot from Spiker to take that player down from below. Overall, his vertical play has been decent so far throughout this entire game, especially in positions that you wouldn't otherwise expect. Able to take down Whitlock, that's the only C4 on the board for the defense. Carry the Boats with a man advantage. If they can deal with Tragical and make sure Mikey don't flank, this is a plant in the making.
It's just a matter of time now. Chunnar. Ooh, spotted. Senvale, they know where he is. Spiker calling that one out. A well-placed drone and now likely to deal with it.
Good.
They could just hold this angle and try to go for the plant, but that will mean that there's one of these attackers devoted to holding that position. Senvale walks right up into it. He fell for the bait, and now the bomb goes down. Wimpy securing the defuse. Sweater, a great shot. Wimpy, another, and it is just Trebmac, the last player standing. Up above an Attic. Land a bullet onto Inrio, but now it simply doesn't matter. Doesn't have the hatch to drop down. He's going to have to go all the way around and take the tower stairs. A feat that is impossible when the entire team is sitting, lying in wait. Carry the Boats. Took them a few minutes, but they were able to take an attacking round and just get one step closer to tying this one up.
And to give them credit, I mean, that's as clean of an execute as you could hope for on Meeting Hall specifically, especially with lacking an Osa to kind of have some easy cover and facilitate a plant or just covering the plant a lot easier. That was very good. Spiker gets that first pick onto Whitlock, and then at that point, they play everything about as well as you could expect. They see the Legion down below, but they don't get distracted by him. They know he's not helping his team, doesn't have a C4 either, so it's not like he can use the E-Box hatch to throw one up and land it on stage to deny the plant. So they'd say, all right, it's a 5v4. Spiker, you literally have a shotgun on your rifle. Just go prone. Odds are he doesn't check that level. You kill him when he flanks. And they're going for the plant right as that happens because they push Tragical back to split, push the Thorn back to meeting, and they've created the space they need to, and they have the advantage to cover the plant. Excellent play from Carry the Boats, and sure, it might have taken a while, but once they got everything set up, it all worked perfectly.
10 seconds left.
Just a well put together round. As you pointed out, Carter, just every little thing ended up going their way.
Attackers must locate.
That's what we need to see from them a little bit more. Just need to see them harness that experience we know they have, that mechanical skill we know they have, and just put a couple of more of these rounds together. It's just not quite tidy enough, consistently enough, to allow them to have taken the lead on this map just yet. But they're going to be looking to change that. They're going to have another attempt now at attacking this basement site, and they're going to be doing it with a Glaz. The combination of the Glaz and the Capitao suggests that you could get some pretty significant and, well, cheeky smoke angles, but doesn't mean that's going to happen easily. You're still going to have to find a way to set that up, and that's going to take time. And in order to get there, you're going to have to clear out Whitlock, which, as we've pointed out, is not an easy thing to do.
No, indeed. But Sweater opens things up onto Mikey to start, the top player for Chunnar at the moment. Finds him rotating down White Stairs. Cuts him down very quickly. Only one round has broken the rule of whoever gets the opening pick winning the round. Carry the Boats are lucky. Might still close this one out if they're able to keep with that trend. There's still a lot of utility for Chunnar on the site that need to be worried about. Of course, Senvale with that C4 and those black mirrors. Tragical with that MPX and 1.5, which might as well be a gadget, but also those glasses. Here through those Capital bolts that Spiker's now bringing. But Carry the Boats have an answer to that of their own. They've got the glass to not only do battle with the Warden, but anybody who might try to peek through that smoke. As it's a firmly backsided take for Carry the Boats, and the nades flying through. They burned all those magnets. Now as the flashes fly in and the smokes land, it is time for Carry the Boats to execute.
Here goes Drip, the Glass doing what he does best. Sitting in a smoke grenade, trying to find a surprise angle, but Chunnar is ready. They knew that was coming, and, well, they didn't peek into it. Whitlock is staying disciplined. Tragical as well. Now going to face some pressure from the other side, and that pressure will be a little too much for him to deal with. Sweater collects the kill. Drip now joining him, trying to force Trebmac out of this position. Trebmac did a nice job of holding off the E-box push, but he will hold it off no longer. Whitlock and Senville, they're going to have to do it themselves. A 2v4. C4 goes up, but it's too late.
Nice.
The shot lands quicker as Wimpy takes the fight, wins it, now goes for the defuse. Whitlock pinned in Freezer, and he's going to have to fight against 3 attackers just sitting on the coverage. And now a third because Wimpy is off the defuse and in position, just like Sweater. Another clean shot, and Carry the Boats put together another clean round.
Nice advantage of that smoke right there. If somebody like Whitlock does try to get aggressive and play Freezer, it's a one-way. The attack can see their feet, but the Jaeger cannot see the attackers. So good smoke placement, good utility placement, and again, 2 rounds in a row, a great execute from Carry the Boats. That'll force Chunnar Esports to take a tactical timeout.
I can do that, honestly. Or actually,
you guys can, it'll be easier to throw too, because you can literally just bring like a Jaeger, then probably just, you can still bring a mirror and like a trap op, and then you guys should be good.
yeah, but I'll go Mira, you go Cage. Since you're
Third.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the mirror and the cage should cover everything. Just hide the cage. Don't let the cage go get like any sort of like hatches or anything. Let them just inside the site. And you guys are good kids after this, and you guys should be fine. And if you end up do want to go back and meeting somehow, just pop the fucking hatch above. That needs to be opened up so you can get test stage, because like they're just like it's a free plan for stage. If you guys do get back there.
Yeah, I can pop that.
Okay.
When we go to the offset play after go up there, we should go dining, I think. And like play
Yeah, I
dodgeball.
think so too. Probably we suck at that side.
And you guys should be good.
Let's force him to like execute this round then. Like shoot like one cam early and just get him out of control. I doubt they even bring you peas.
Someone should go start top with it. Whoever set up is easy, start top and shoot their cutoff cam. I have a cutoff cam somewhere up there.
Ooh. That's an interesting call to make at the end of that timeout. I actually don't know. Normally I don't kind of make subjective judgments. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that to let them execute, because so far the 2 rounds Carry the Boats have won. It has been off of the back of them being able to get in the proper positions and then execute based off the strategy they had, specifically on that meeting round. Though, as they did bring up in the timeout, and I forgot to mention in the round, the hatch was reinforced, so they actually couldn't contest from Attic to deny the plan. So if they do go back to meeting, they do need to do that, and that would heavily stop the strategy that Carry the Boats had. But, though it is basement and not getting too aggressive is important, they shouldn't overcorrect and, like, get aggressive. I will say, I think maybe just letting Carry the Boats hit that execute, that could be a spot where they thrive. But, at the same time, to counter my own argument, Jonah, they have brought the Mira and the Warden consistently, and if you are going to anchor and entirely rely on that, they have certainly have and are bringing the utility to make that and execute that strategy as effectively as they can.
Right, they've got 2 C4s in pocket as well. The Warden, when it was his ability to sit in that smoke, to just take it, to take those flashes, to take that onslaught of pressure, and with those mirror windows that are likely not going to get fully cleared out even when the execute is coming through, you can kind of see where that approach is coming from Chunnar, right? They're saying, okay, we're now bringing the utility to allow them to execute, to kind of sit back and play a bit more passive rather than trying to stop that entry into the site. Okay, maybe let them take the site, just confidently get those C4s up, get those mirror windows utilized to the best of their advantage, and, you know, try to put themselves in a winning position. But we'll have to see exactly how that comes in, because that kind of game plan, we're going to see that in the late round. And as usual here on Oregon, we still have a full minute here where we've got to see how Carry the Boats are able to approach this. They're not going to have to deal with much of a roam, as we heard in that tag timeout. That's not the plan here for Chunnar. Instead, they're just going to wait to see what Carry the Boats do.
Nah, I thought maybe we were going to see a quick play with Drip sprinting down the laundry stairs, but it's a couple flashes and a nade just to destroy some utility. Also to make Mikey fear for his life a little bit, but nothing just yet. Ooh, there we go. We see Sweater drop. He's going to deal with Mikey in that position. No cut down Trevmac and Senvale not playing execute. Sweater's just dropped and gotten 2 quick frags. And if Carry the Boat do want to go back and take the next minute and 15 seconds to execute, well, they've got the time, but certainly not Drip in play.
Yeah, that was a drop down into a hailstorm of bullets, and he threw a nade by his own feet. So that one wasn't going to work out too well. The wall snuck up on him there. And that right there, that little quick flurry, that's enough to stop Carry the Boats and the onslaught that it looked like they were about to execute. Instead, they're going to slow things down for your recommendation, Carter, and take the next maybe few seconds here just to drone it out and figure out what they're dealing with. Again, 7 drones in play. That's a lot of utility at your fingertips, but they're not going to know the C4 is coming. Inrio's going to have to do this one himself. Takes care of Whitlock and Freezer. Mikey and Tragical still to find. 1 in bunker, 1 in closet. Eluding capture thus far, and Inrio knows it. He wide swings, and he finds himself exactly where Tragical had hoped. The plan may not have worked exactly the way it was supposed to, but it still worked. At the end of the day, Chunnar take the round and put themselves on map point.
Indeed it did work, and that is the benefit of just trying to force the attacking team to execute on a site like Basement. Even if I might have had some slight quibbles with the strategy, Chunnar have consistently brought the lineup to make that strategy work, and even though Sweater did counter it in explosive fashion, Carry the Boats quickly lost that man advantage, and then Chunnar Esports used the utility they've been bringing, namely the Black Mirrors, in addition to that C4, to then punish Carry the Boats for losing that 5v3 advantage. Now they've won Basement after dropping it, and if they just close out Dorms, which they have already won so far, will be at that 7-5 scoreline that I worried, actually no, I worried Carry the Boats would lose at 7-4. So in all fairness, not the scoreline that I worried about, but still a scoreline that Carry the Boats have lost Oregon on before.
Carry the Boats just need 1 more here, but they need 1 more. They can't wait any longer. It's map point for Chunnar. And a chance to take their own map pick, mind you, but to take their own map pick and move their way onto Chalet with a nice map win under their belts. Don't have to worry about having to make a comeback or winning their opponent's map pick if that were the case. But for now, staying patient again. We're not seeing a dramatic roam from them. I expect a similar mentality, similar strategy taken into this round and the next. The big difference, though, that's the small tower presence from Trevmac, who's gonna jump out. There's somebody right there, and Wimpy did not know. The drone work just didn't make its way into small tower, and they're gonna get punished for it.
I mean, thankfully they brought that many nades, though. 3 of the 4 operators in the game with nades on Carry the Boats roster. So now they're back just to the normal amount of 4, and they also know that Trevmac is all the way by small tower. They've got Sweater in Z on the cutoff as well. Likely somebody watching Dining, so they know the Solus hasn't rotated back, but that's why you see the Jaeger repositioning right now, to make sure that the Solus does have the option to rotate back and can make it back successfully, or at least, if Trevmac dies, Whitlock can swing for the trade. You also have Valcams watching the Dining position as well. This is a very well thought out bridge constructed back to the site for Trevmac, who can also still make some useful intel and useful work just finding these electronics. Because Carry the Boats are having their time wasted. Trevmac can just sit here, let Carry the Boats focus on him, though Mikey's now fallen. His position becomes a lot more precarious because now with Mikey gone and half the round to go, Carry the Boats know this Solus is on the backside. The Skeleton Key will open up that wall immediately.
No!
But Spiker still gets him. We're back to a 3v3. Carry the Boats might still win this, but that could have been way, way worse for Chunnar.
I'm reloading.
I mean, that was near disaster for Carry the Boats. I mean, Skeleton Key opening the wall. Spiker looked like he should have won that fight, but eventually they're going to have to just rely on the trade. Another trade as well. Turned us into a 2v2. Nade perfectly placed. Inrio says goodnight to Senvale. Carry the boats 1 kill away from overtime. Tragical. Cautiously repositioning on the site. Worried about some pressure from below, but also knows that there's somebody on top white. That's Sweater playing close. Now that Tragical's been droned, the swing comes in, and Carry the Boats push themselves to OT.
Got the 3 rounds that they needed, and despite a very hectic early to mid round for Carry the Boats, they close it out, but a nail biter by the end. They'll have their attacks to deal with, though, but they have gone through a lot of trials and tribulations so far, and hopefully we'll be able to learn from them. They also do still have, I believe, their tactical timeout in pocket, though, if I recall correctly, no, I think they do still have their tactical timeout in pocket. It's Chunnar that's used theirs, so if they really want to, they can use the overtime tactical timeout, but doubt that's going to happen. They'll have to go through the basement attack first, and to their credit, even though their most recent attempt is a loss, it still was a 5v3 man advantage gained. So a good start, a 2 body-wide lead, and also in the round prior, they had won the basement attack. So, even though this is often like the best defensive side on Oregon, in this particular case, Carry the Boats have had good success in some of their losses, and also just good success in general.
Yeah, really good success in these past few rounds at least. It was Chunnar who started off their half so well with back-to-back rounds, but then Carry the Boats, they countered that with 2 rounds of their own. Looking to make basement a success. 4th time we've seen this site on this half alone. Chunnar won it the first time. Carry the Boats the second. Most recently, Chunnar found a way to come out on top. I mean, this operator lineup suggests a similar approach, right? You've got the Mira, you've got the Kaid, you've got the Wamai again. So, potentially could allow that execute to happen, to quote the Chunnar coach during the TAC timeout. But it does look like, whoa, Trevmac, it does look like he was holding more of an advanced position, and the fadeaway headshot as he rotated down the stairs takes care of Sweater, shuts down the top frag for Carry the Boats, and puts Chunnar in a great spot.
I've got my head in my hands right now. Not even because Sweater did anything wrong. He just got fried. Nade's gone, but also that's a 15-9 player. Only one positive for Carry the Boats, and that oh-so-potent entry no longer a factor. Trevmac gets MVP this round unless something goes really bad for Chunnar, and then I've got to give it to somebody else. Carry the Boats will just spend the next 45 seconds opening up these hatches, and they still have some nades to work with as well, so Drip might take up some of Sweater's positions to try to use that secondary utility to get a kill and avoid having to take a gunfight. But this is where playing the execute is really problematic for Carry the Boats, because Chunnar have that pick. They've taken down a key operator and a key player, and now those mirror windows, those deployable shields, the magnets, Nadia, every bit of utility on the defense is that much more powerful by gaining a man advantage and taking down a set of frag grenades. Chunnar are in an excellent position to close this out.
Great nade, though, and another follow-up from Drip. He's just pushed his way into elbow and taken this control. Another nade. Working its way towards the closet. That's gonna land, make it a triple, swung, and eventually finished off. But the damage has been done. Carry the Boats, they are all over the objective. They're gonna take the round, and they will be the first ones to draw blood in overtime.
That's gotta be the hardest caster curse I have ever seen in my life of watching esports and casting it. The moment I conclude, like I am giving a closing speech at trial, why Chunnar Esports are going to win this round off the utility, off the advantage, off every factor still going their way. What does Carry the Boats do? Well, something excellent. Something excellent. They say, all right, There's this player inside a bunker. Clearly don't have the requisite ADSs or magnets, or that nade placement was just so excellent. They not only destroy the shield, but then they not only get a player there, Drip gets another kill. Monsieur DBK! You, my friend, are the reason Carry the Boats are on match point right now, because with both of those nades and your FMG9, you took a round I believed was all but done, and have snatched victory from the jaws of Chunnar.
And in just the course of 2 rounds, we've gone from map point for Chunnar to map point for Carry the Boats. Now it's Chunnar on the back foot who need to make something happen, and they've got to do it on their attacking side. They have not been here for a while. First half, 50-50 split. Chunnar were able to come away with 3 rounds. Ooh! And they're going to be looking to add a 4th attacking round to that tally, starting things off with a bang. The 16-9 Mikey will silence the 15-10 Sweater. The 2 behemoths in the opening engagement, and Mikey comes out on top.
Sweater, unfortunately and noticeably absent in 2 big rounds of overtime. Carry the Boats still managed to win the last one without his assistance, especially because of Drip's calling and that rotation with the FMG9 down to bunker. Maybe they'll be able to make the basement defense work as well. Chunnar Esports will still spend a lot of time getting map control on that middle floor, opening up angles, so an execute is not forthcoming. It's not going to happen soon. Well, there is one player offside at the moment, Spiker in Big Tower. I don't think Chunnar have an idea, and I doubt they really care all that much. But they will need to be careful, at least. They don't get flanked by that Valkyrie. Tragical's just sprinting on through, and Spiker hears the action and meeting. They know a drone is watching the Big Tower stairs right now, and it does spot him. Now Spiker is unfortunately trapped in Big Tower, but Senvale, oddly enough, goes down from... I've honestly got no idea. Main stairs? Laundry stairs. Well, that's a bummer, losing your Hibana with still some hard breaching to do.
Logic bomb goes out. Inrio drips their position. Telegraph to the attack, but nobody is nearby. Instead, they are all on the completely opposite side of the map, and even on the opposite side of the site. Mikey is in elbow.
Attackers have recovered their
He has an angle onto this freezer door. Oh, but he just doesn't take it, and he allows Drip to slip by.
The suppressor, though. Wait, I actually can't believe... I don't think they heard! They're still pushing anyway, Jonah!
Yeah, they didn't know. They didn't know he was there. He'll swing again, but Wimpy denies it. Spiker tacks on another. Inrio a third. And what could have been a tremendous execute for Chunnar has been completely shut down. Tragical, the last player standing, is now in a 1v3. There's 30 seconds to find these final 3 defenders, and it is not looking good. Quick headshot onto Inrio, but he takes a shotgun to the body and is now on 1 HP. And has to fight against the world. Wimpy on low HP, that's a winnable fight. But he's in a crossfire and doesn't have the diffuser in pocket, and he only has 10 seconds that remain. He'll work his way around towards E-Box, misses the first spray, and is not gonna have time to do much else. Carry the Boats, they stave off 1 match point, they take it in OT. Their opponent's map pick going their way.
Their first map win of Element 1 as well. Same can be said for both teams, technically, when they win a map in one of these series. But without Sweater in either overtime round, they manage a victory nonetheless. As you said, of course, Jonah, on their opponent's map pick, they now get to go to Chalet 1-0 in the series. And to be honest, for Carry the Boats, that wasn't the cleanest of games. It wasn't the most impressive, but... they needed that win. They needed to make it to overtime, and once they did, honestly, it was reactive when it needed to be. It was thoughtful when it needed to be. Those 2 rounds were honestly some of the best that we've seen from that team throughout the course of this map.
Let's not forget why we all love this game. We love it for the competition. We love it to see the highest level gameplay, and we actually now have a chance to see the highest level gameplay in person at the Blast R6 Major in the fall. We are going to Atlanta, if you haven't seen the posts already. So get yourself some tickets. Carter, rumor has it,
Wait.
you're already locked in and going?
Wait, okay. Yes, that's true, but please, no autographs, but... You're telling me Atlanta, a North American major, where you could see any number of the players in the lobby right now, any number of your favorite NA teams on home soil? Do you remember how hype the Charlotte major was? If you don't, you better go to the Atlanta major just to find out just a little bit, of how unbelievably hard a North American major goes.
Goes hard.
It does.
Goes very hard.
Just
And
a little
hopefully the conclusion of this series will go hard as well. We've got map 2, we've got Chalet coming up right after this.
That's a hard one. I've got a team of really determined people. I would say, I think easily one of the most determined people I know is Brios. I've played with him. I've watched him play in CL, and having him back and being able to play with him and kind of hear his ideas for the game, like, he really, really is committed to getting better. If I can ever count on anybody to be able to give me good feedback and to give the team good feedback in terms of things that we ought to be doing, it's definitely Brios.
I would say Senvo. He's in the game all the time. He's streaming all the time. He's always playing ranked. And honestly, he's just vibes. Just like whatever we need, he's there.
One of my most determined teammates would be Dan or Agra. One day he broke his finger and he literally scrimmed with us on a controller. Like, it was crazy. I would say dedication is Matt/Ozone. He does a lot of things outside of life and he puts so much forward towards Siege as well. And I just appreciate how much time he gives to us and our team.
The most dedicated teammate I have has to be Senvale. That man streams every single day, and he's 40, so you do the math.
Most dedicated, determined teammate on the roster, no question about it, is 100% natural. That dude just brings the vibes. No matter what performance he's putting up, that dude will just be screaming at the ends of rounds, getting hyped, bringing the team vibe up. He's really a good player to be around. I think that he can change players. I think he makes people want to play the game. He makes people want to play with him. Shout out Natural.
I think Zeno is the most determined player on our team. He was on the Beast Coast for stage 3 and he didn't get the chance to prove himself and show his skills and whatnot. And I think he deserves better, and he works very hard to achieve his goal and be on a good team.
Everyone on the team, there's a reason they're on the team, but I would say dedication-wise, I gotta say myself. I think I'm a good leader. I help everyone improve. I think I hold myself accountable, and I'm very good at. If I'll make mistakes, I'll mess up all the time, and I make lots of mistakes, but I'm happy to accept my mistakes and learn from them. I'll definitely say me and Asian, we're the two main people do all the strategy for the team. So I'll put him as my right-hand man. Me and him are the guys going in the jar and lobbies, staying after practice, talking late about how we're gonna attack, defend, go about our team plan, our strategies, and all that.
I'd have to say Floofs. He's been with me for however long since our first team together, and he's literally always down to scrim, to VOD, to do strats, to talk game, to play ranked. He really wants to compete and he wants to go somewhere in this game. And I mean, we all have one common goal, and I'm glad he's been there with me because he makes it a lot easier. Where I might not be here today if it wasn't for him always playing with me.
Map 1, Oregon. Took a while, but Carry the Boats managed to pull through in the end and set themselves up nicely to go into their own map pick of Chalet coming up in just a few, Carter. But what we saw on Oregon, I mean, much like our first series, it was back and forth the whole way.
Indeed, 3-3 halves on both sides of the equation. Primary bomb sides given away like candy by the defense on both sides at times, though specifically for Carry the Boats, as Chunnar were in very close position to closing that half out 4-2, in which case we've got a regulation victory for Chunnar on our hands, but that did not happen. And Carry the Boats, after making it to overtime, were able to win 2 rounds in a row to close it out 8-6. And overall, a lot of good points to talk about for both teams. Carry the Boats, especially in a few individual rounds, had some very solid and well-thought-out executes or reactions and adaptations to plays brought out by Chunnar, whereas the site setups and the overall strategy from Chunnar itself, especially on basement and dorms, were very solid on their defenses. And TrevMac, I want to say, even though Mikey had a big stat line, you know, like 16 and 9 or so by the end of the game, TrevMac also had a lot of big moments for himself as well, despite going 8-11.
Nice. Oh my God, bro. Mikey just...
Yeah, good to hear them get that successful win under their belts. A hard-fought one. A hard-fought win at that. And, I mean, here you see how exactly it ended up on paper, right? We came into this one thinking, all right, Carry the Boats, they're going to have the advantage on paper, and that is where things ended up with that 8-6 victory, even in terms of the entry game. But you see the rating there, definitely favoring Carry the Boats. And I mean, gotta love the unique operator stat as well. I didn't catch that last time. That's nice. 14 unique operators from Carry the Boats, 12 on the side of Chunnar.
And of course, the individual stats, Mikey leading the scoreboard on the side of Chunnar, not a surprise to anybody. Same can be said for Sweater on the side of Carry the Boats. But overall, not only a more even game in terms of the kills, but everyone on Carry the Boats, it felt like, had a big moment for themselves. Sweater, Wimpy, all the way down to Inrio and Drip. They all had big rounds, if not in kills, like quantity-wise, but impact at a bare minimum, and I think the cost reflects that too. Whereas on the side of Chunnar, I mean, Mikey had a lot of kills to be sure, and they all performed decently well in the entry game, but it did feel like there was a bit more of a disparity between some of the top or most impactful performers and the bottom.
Right, you did see a good amount of kill distribution from just about everybody, especially other than those top 2 people, of course, in those moments when they needed to. And going into Chalet, that's something important to continue. I mean, Chalet has a lot of similar vibes to Oregon in the way that it can get so frag dominant, and it's going to depend on your ability to get a lot of those entry engagements, although definitely leaning more to Chalet in terms of that play style than Oregon. Chalet can, of course, be structured and can be a bit of that methodical game that we saw emerge in the mid stages of Oregon, but a bit less so. And if one of these teams, especially Chunnar, right, if they want to come out of the gates and exploit that and really get explosive on their attacking side, they are well within their right to do so.
And also, both teams can just set up their executes very well, use their utility, coordinate, and clear out key positions. Chalet attack can be a very, very easy affair. And if they do want to frag, as you said, Jonah, they can make it easy as well. But we've got map 2 of the series starting right now. Once we get through the op-ban phase, we'll be able to find out if Carry the Boats can close this one in 2, or if Chunnar Esports, on their opponent's map pick, still have some fight left in them.
Looking at the attacker win rate on this map, 55.9%, 33-26. So definitely leaning attack, but not dramatically, not like Border, and not even as attacker sided as Villa has been so far this season. So someone to keep your eye on. The defensive teams have certainly been putting up a fight, just not enough of one. But right off the bat, we've got something worth talking about: the Brava ban here on Chalet. Now, if there's any map to ban the Brava, this is it. Those cameras all over this map are just in great spots and control so much of active site territory. Just think about that one in the main lobby, which sees pretty much 3 or 4, like pretty much all 4 bomb sites. That camera is vitally important to maintain for the defense, or at the very least, to not allow the attackers to get control of.
also a focal point of Chunnar Esports' one game they played so far in Element 1, which was on Chalet. So just a good target ban to land. Valk Fenrir following things up. We don't have that Solus ban that you talked about, the second most popular band inside of Element 1 so far, but still one of the most popular bands, not only in the league, but also generally across Rainbow Six as a whole. Same could be said for Ying on the attack. Thankfully for Drip, he'll have his Nook handy and ready if he wants to play her again, or if anybody on Carry the Boats, for that matter, wants to start lurking around the map and maybe go for some kills up certain stairways. First site to start is Bar and Games. We've seen this site kind of fall out of favor a lot recently, Jonah. But look at the utility Carry the Boats are bringing. We got castles, we got Kibas and Malusis. They are certainly trying to waste as much of Chunnar's time as feasibly possible.
I mean, that's what it's all about here. You've got so much utility designed to slow the attackers down. And you've got a bit designed to deal with that information game as well, which as a result can slow the attackers down, right? Those mute jammers, really versatile. You can use those to deny that hard breach and to slow down that utility game. You can also use it to slow down the information game, shut down the drone economy, make it a lot harder for Chunnar to get information about what they're dealing with around the other side. Just like this, for example. Is there a drone on Sweater communicating this spawn peak to the attack? Probably not. Doesn't look like it, but thankfully for Chunnar, nothing to worry about. There's nobody there, so everyone will remain safe and sound.
Everyone from Chunnar spawning on the library, the western or southwestern side of things. Looking to destroy these Kibas, burn any, well, no, actually not burn anything, of course. There's no projectile denial, but still burn through a lot of that utility early on. Flores is not banned, by the way, but he is not being played. But if Carry the Boats abuse those Kiba barriers, I have to imagine Chunnar Esports might decide to bring out the Flores later on, so long as they deal with those mutes. Everyone outside of library right now, with the exception of Mikey and Tragical on the opposite side of the map, to put some pressure onto the master bedroom and office or top blue positions. There is one exception. Drip has found himself inside the mudroom window. Just around the corner is TrevMac 2. Concerned about the left side, but not looking to his right. Drip still standing here, will only serve as known. Not easy fodder. It's a team kill instead. Sweater found outside the building. It was a coordinated play between him and Drip, which still results in a kill for both teams.
Yeah, love that coordination, using that distraction from that mudroom closet, right, to allow somebody else to peek from the other side from West Main. And as you said, Carter, it went both ways. 4v4. Not too much damage dealt. You lose the Yana. That's a bummer. You've lost some nades. But you lose Sweater, the Malusi. It's going to favor the defense, that kill, but not by a dramatic amount. Because, listen, you've got a lot of utility to deal with. And now you've got 2 fewer nades to do it. Whitlock has that breaching hammer, has that 1 nade in pocket. And TrevMac has got those concussions and those impacts from the Zofia. Wow. The nade will not only kill the utility, but will actually finish off the defender. And Chunnar, they'll just swing in, and they'll get back-to-back kills. Just like that, it's a 1v3 with Spiker against the world, and this one is not going to be easy for the mute. SMG-11 in hand, and has some information to work with, but with soft destruction just about everywhere, he's going to lose the fight. Just not sure whether it was from front or behind, but it's just tragical. Through the soft wall, who finishes it out?
I thought that round would take a little longer. I was thinking to myself, wow, I mean, we got a minute left. Chunnar have not cleared very much utility upstairs in library. This looks like a good round for Carry the Boats. They might just win it. Then all of a sudden, Whitlock flies in, gets a great nade on the player playing around library and mezzanine, and then kills the other player playing around library and mezzanine after he hits the floor and peeks with his L85. That alone, that play alone would be enough to give Chunnar Esports a fighting, if not advantaged, chance in round 1. And then they get a 3rd kill on top of that, just Tragical working a pick with his DMR. I mean, at that point, you just gotta commend Chunnar at that point. For despite suffering on the utility clear and that run out between Drip and Sweater really wasting a lot of time and catching them off guard, we're immediately just sending it, and sure, gambling, but their luck paying off.
Just like Oregon, Chunnar will start off map 2 strong and make Carry the Boats look a little silly while doing it. That one was clinical. Just dismantled that library, that top floor hold, and just use that pressure to just walk down to the first floor and finish off the last player that remained. That's the kind of risk you play with going for such a powerful top floor extension. If you start to lose those bodies up above, there's not much you can do. Only one player that remained down below and not much that they could do either. Another 1-for-1 though, a quick flurry of engagements, only 20 seconds in to this second round. They will end up trading back and forth, carry the boats with the opener, but then Spiker was traded.
Still a kill that easily favors carry the boats. Sure, you lose that Solus, can't spot the electronics, but that Thermite was destined to open up Garage Wall, then provide some redundancy for the Y and execute. You still have Mikey to open up those holes, but losing the Thermite's problematic, and then here you could just have Tragical wall-banging someone all the way into Pillar. Sweater does have those Kiba barriers to continuously provide cover, so he can hold on to this position despite one falling, but now he's gone too! Chunnar are just throwing caution and patience to the wind, and have taken the round by storm.
Now, Sweater just got cooked. Chunnar are hitting some shots right now, and that's put them in a nice 4v2 as a result. Drip will go for the full flank. He's going to try to rotate all the way around. In the meantime, though, Wimpy has to hold off all of this pressure by himself. Drip's not going to get very far as his position was watched, so he's going to rotate right back to where he came from, now joining Wimpy in this 2v3 situation on the site. Great shot by Wimpy. He can do it too. Looking to establish this long angle and contest it heavily. Chunnar, they have a lot of time to work with, but they are not going to waste a minute, second longer. They're going all the way up, and Wimpy's going to shut it down. Trevmac jumpsters Wimpy, though. So now it is a 1v1, Trevmac against Drip. The Warden sneaks his way around towards blue, and Trevmac uses that opportunity to get into the site. He's got the diffuser in pocket, and he could try to get this down. With 45 seconds, that's what he'll do. Drip, hearing this, will sprint around the corner and look to deny it. Trevmac gun up, but it doesn't matter. Drip and Wimpy do it all. A triple from Wimpy. I think maybe a double from Drip to close out the round.
A double for Drip overall, indeed, and a Wimpy masterclass on the bottom floor as Capcan, you mentioned it, Drip goes for the flank. It is Wimpy against the world, and somehow the world is down a point in the series. Wimpy's able to get 3 of those kills in the 2v4 and somehow win that engagement with Whitlock.
Insane.
And though his good work is almost undone as Trevmac follows it up with a stinker onto the man himself. Drip closed it out, and that should be commended. But Chunnar as well should be commended for using that soft wall created by Carry the Boats to get 2 different kills within that round. Excellent job compensating for the early loss of Senvale's Thermite by using the defense's own setup against them and taking advantage of that innate aggression from Carry the Boats.
Yeah, I liked that. I mean, it was clean. Even though they lost their hard breach, they decided it's actually going to be fine. We've got an opening. Just rotate. Just use the soft wall. The defense has given us a chance, so let's take advantage. They did. They got a couple of kills with it. They secured a nice 4v2 advantage. As you pointed out, Carter, it was Wimpy who took the fight and just won 3 engagements back-to-back to give Carry the Boats not only a fighting chance, but to put them on top. A round that it looked like Chunnar was going to secure goes into Carry the Boat's pocket and ties us up 1-1. So to a new bomb site we go. Kitchen and dining this time as Carry the Boats keep us on our toes.
Electronics spotted down below. Spiker, if his goal was just to spot things with the Specchio scanner, he'd be #1 Solus in the world at the moment. People see a drone outside. He'll back off pretty soon after. He's got his one with that electronic intel gathering device. Key by the door. Hold your position. Don't give away office too early. That'll be some good control if Chunnar end up getting it. Spiker also just trying to provide intel to the rest of his team where they might be droning, where they might be pushing, and also aiding Wimpy, saying, hey, a lot of drones have just gone silent. You might have a couple gunfights coming your way momentarily. Wimpy's job is just to hold down this position as long as he can. That's why he's got those Kibas too. Waste as much time as humanly possible. All that said, It's still Spiker, who might be the one spotted early on.
Oh, good spray there from Trebmac. He knew someone was there, but he doesn't quite land the shots. Mikey will join him now, trying to hunt down this roamer. Meanwhile, the rest of the team will work in their way up above. Chunnar trying to get a lot done right now, trying to cover all of their bases. It does mean they are stretched a little thin. They do get this office wall opened up, though, so Wimpy will deploy these Kiba barriers to secure his position. Whitlock has that long angle, of course, so he will try to get something going up above and just establish that coverage while the rest of the team focuses on the site itself.
Only 2 drones, though, so if they want to get any more control on that top floor, even find players in sight on the bottom floor, it'll either have to be from heads-up engagements or just from sheer luck. Sweater opens things up on a Trevmac. 5v4 now, favoring the defense. The impacts. Oh, no! It misses from Spiker, and he backs off soon after, so Chunnar will open up the bar wall, or the dining wall, excuse me. That's a big pick, but look at all these angles Carry the Boats have, and all the utility waiting for anybody who puts their head through that breach.
Drip. Such a dangerous spot. C4 gives him another angle to work with and allows Inrio to clap that one on a Mikey. Wimpy tacks on one more, and it just comes down to Whitlock now. Carry the Boats. Wow. Just outright denies that attack. Shuts it down from above, below, and on the site itself. Everything going their way that time.
Yeah, really good job from Wimpy on that roam in just wasting time, doing damage to Intel alongside the rest of his team, shooting drones on that top floor or inside of the site, and using those Kibas as well to waste quite a bit of time. Though I will say, given how little progress Chunnar made, part of that is also because they were stalling out themselves, dedicating so much time to finding Spiker down below in the mid-round that didn't end up resulting in a kill, trying to probe for a pick around short that also didn't work out for Tragical. It was a combination of course, great time wasting and intel denial by Carry the Boats, but also Chunnar staying in one place for a little too long, getting too tunnel vision on aspects of the round that, to be honest, didn't end up mattering all that much by the end of things.
Yeah, Carry the Boats, despite all the little things going on that Chunnar were trying to get done, they didn't get too flustered by that. They still maintained those positions. We talked about the position in office on the top floor that proved essential for Carry the Boats, that they maintained despite the pressure that Chunnar was putting forward. We talked about the roamers that were downstairs. That Drip, he was still there at the end of the round despite Chunnar putting all of that pressure to that position. It was like Chunnar stretched themselves just a little too thin, where they were able to apply a little bit of pressure everywhere, but not enough to actually get something done. The clear downstairs never really finished. The clear in office never really finished. There was still a bit of presence to worry about that maybe a weaker team would have crumbled under that light bit of pressure everywhere. But Carry the Boats, they are not that weaker team.
Oh, indeed. They've made a very good showing of their Chalet defenses so far and have a good time to guarantee themselves an even half, which on Chalet defense is absolutely a win. Sweater behind that Kiba can get decently aggressive, and also, if anybody tries to use ranged hard breach, if there was any available, he's got the feet holes in that wall to impact it. Just a setup built to keep Sweater alive in that position as long as possible. Only the addition of ADSs would make that even better. Mikey's hopped in nonetheless, though. Doesn't really care about that Kiba remaining up with those feet holes in the wall, or even the Razor Bloom on his window. They've thrown that nade in and put Sweater down to 1 HP, and he will promptly get the hell out of there. Down to the bottom floor. One drone will spot him, but he's safe for the time being, as the rest of the defenders over inside a master bedroom and office, and those on top blue will waste time taking advantage of Sweater's quick retreat.
A bomb has been located.
Wimpy and Inrio staying passive, staying patient. Wimpy's position known, but Inrio's not. He's going to go for this full flank. He's going to catch one unaware, and he's going to get away for free. Unfortunately for Carry the Boats, they are going to lose 2 bodies at the same time, losing Sweater and Spiker while that flank happened. Another kill, potentially down below for Chunnar, and it will land as Wimpy cannot land the headshot, and Tragical, he'll land enough body shots to do the defender in. 2v4. Going to take another pretty impressive comeback now for Carry the Boats if they want to win this.
Drip tries to bet their chances on a run out. That does not work. Claymore gets him, and Inrio slaughtered inside a bedroom. Chunnar even things up 2-2 now off the back of an overall solid execute, to be sure. But, again, it comes from, in a similar way to round one, just working picks at different angles, not necessarily from the execute, or at least the overall strategy itself, but still commendable. Because right there, you see Chunnar do a lot of work to clear out Sweater, and they do it in a timely manner without dropping a body at all. They do lose a kill, sure, but then two players are able to fight back from their own angles, and now the remaining defenders are in a tricky spot, specifically our boy, Wimpy. What is he to do? He's on library stairs, he's got his own Kibas in the way, and the attack has just taken control of his direct path back to the site above him. And when he goes to take a fight, to potentially allow a rotation to Solar later on, oh no. Our boy misses a few key shots, specifically one in the head, and then Chunnar Esports at that point have a very, very good shot at winning the round.
Well, Barn Games. We're not going to see that one again. Carry the Boats have tried it twice. Unsuccessful twice. They've managed to win Garage and Wine Cellar. They've managed to win Kitchen and Dining. So we're going to see these two sites back to back, I would expect. Rather, that last one, that was Master in Office? They kept dancing between the sites.
It was Master Bedroom Office.
Master Bedroom Office. So we're not going to see that one again either. Same idea. Same idea. Didn't work on Barn Games the first time. Didn't work on Master in Office the second time. We go down to the basement. We go down to the basement for round number 5. Again, last time, this one came down to a pretty miraculous hold there from Wimpy. So I'd argue that Carry the Boat still have the onus on their shoulders now to put a good performance down and maybe make things a little bit easier for them than it was last time. Because Chunnar, they were able to get the man advantage like they have in a majority of these rounds. They just weren't able to close it out.
There's a 2v4, of course, just to remind everyone as well. Carry the Boats previously able to win this defense. Not a huge second floor presence from Carry the Boats. Not a huge first floor presence either, despite the open hatch. Just an option to play retake later on if they want to. Without the early loss of Senvale and without too much forward aggression from Carry the Boats, Chunnar Esports will feel decently confident to move on with their take. When they get down to first floor, though, this is where they might start running into problems. We've got half the round gone. They've still got to open up the wine wall, maybe work some ticks over by Garage, or at least make sure that nobody's pushing over by that area. And then you've got clearing out the pillar position, and there's no nades on the board for Chunnar either. So a lot of these normal positions you'd think they'd clear aren't a factor. And right now, there's not even a lot of presence over by Wine. This is a take that is very, very focused on the front side right now, but even then, there's a lot of work to do, namely that Garage wall.
Impact trick from Sweater missed. Hatch is open. Whitlock will take a lot of damage from the C4 down below, but he is still alive. Skeleton key still in hand, and can do a lot of damage from up above. Instead, Chunnar, they're going to look to drop down. They end up blinding themselves, but it's fine because Mikey comes up with 1 and 2. Stuck in the closet, though, so a victim to Sweater's angle. That'll be a quick one, and same thing goes for Drip, taking the fight with Whitlock up above. 30 seconds, Senvale knows exactly what's coming, and Spiker gets dusted. Sweater gets taken care of quickly as well. It's all up to Drip in the 1v3. The drop in closet, the drop down into sight, and there it is. Drip is taken care of, and Chunnar will take yet another round. That's 3 for them on the attack so far.
Really got to hand it to Mikey there, I guess. I saw him drop and blind himself with a flashbang, and I was like, oh, this guy's dead. This is a dead guy we're watching right now. This is a guy, he's alive right now. He's going to be dead in about 2 seconds. And then he gets 2 kills. To be frank, that makes almost the entire execute. Because if they wanted to go for a plant, asterisk there. If they wanted to go for a plant, which might not have been the case. They didn't have a lot going for them to cover a bomb going down. But then we see Tragical decides to push Wine's side as the chaos is unfolding on White. Senvale shuts down the flank as well. Goal there might have just been to go for kills, and Mikey, He overperformed by a wide degree for a man with no vision and likely just intending to go 1-for-1 to get 2 kills as 2 different people swung him.
The flash that ended up flashing himself, I think also flashed Wimpy. Like, that must have been the case.
It did as well. It's just like Mikey also did not have eyesight. For one of
neither
those
of them
kills.
had eyesight. So it's like, all right, who's going to regain eyesight first? Is it the guy sprinting through the closet, or is the guy prone, hoping to not die on the floor of the closet? So, yeah, I mean, yeah, as you pointed out, kind of a do or die for Mikey, and he comes away with more than he had anticipated, which can only be a good thing for Chunnar at the end of the day. And the fact that they've got 3 rounds, that can only be a good thing as well. A 4th would be great, but it's not necessary. They've already done their job. They've hit that 50-50 mark, and just hitting one more round would be tremendous, especially on Carry the Boat's map pick. Again, this best-of-3 series could end here on Chalet if Chunnar do not take this victory. This is an elimination game. Chunnar losing here would end their run in Element 1, and they'll have to come back next time. But it's not over yet. They are in the lead after all. Villa potentially on the horizon. A win in this final attacking round would set themselves up well. Mikey will start things off beautifully. Make it 2. Mikey's on a heater. Shuts down Wimpy and Sweater both. Spiker, Inrio, and Drip are the last 3 that remain. Spiker's yet to find a kill on Chalet. So it's going to be a very tough uphill climb for these final 3 Carry the Boat's defenders.
If there's anybody who has been my MVP these past 2 rounds, it's got to be Mikey, because in one fell swoop, he undoes the previous mistakes of that dining defense, which is taking too long, letting that top floor fester, and letting all the angles on site go with as much support as they possibly could have. Now he's going for a flank on the backside. Drip completely distracted by the trophy window. This might be a kill for Mikey, but the player drops down the hatch. Instead, he turns his sights to Inrio, and God be with any man who tries to peek Mikey, because even when he dies, it results in a kill.
Drip is all that remains of this defense, and his position is known. Whitlock's holding the angle, so is Senvale. Tragical, he can look to get this diffuser down as Drip is getting picked apart. The flashes go in, the Warden can see through it, but the bullets are going to hit him just the same. Doesn't know which angle to look, and it's Senvale to close it out, and Chunnar with a beautiful round number 6 take their 4th round and emerge from the first half victorious.
Overall, it seemed like Carry the Boats might have the better of Chunnar on these defenses, especially after those 2-round victories and the manner in which they happened. Then we have the Master Bedroom and Office attack, which is overall very good from Chunnar. But then those next 2 rounds, as messy as they are, when you have someone who is clearly in flow state, as much as Mikey is right now, it's just fun to sit back and watch the carnage unfold. 4-2 for Chunnar Esports. Solid scoreline to get starting on attack, especially on your opponent's map pick, where you want to keep them on the back foot as much as possible. This is a big round for Chunnar to show up. Start off on a win, make it a 5-2, make Carry the Boats, even though they're on the advantage side, work and feel pressured to get every single one of those rounds. This is a big win if they can get it for their momentum and also their chances at closing this out in regulation.
I mean, yeah, we saw it on Oregon. Chunnar had a lead like this. They had regulation map point ready for the taking and could not close it out. They went to OT, and they ended up losing it. So, simple as that. Just remedy that issue by winning the game sooner and sending us to Villa before Carry the Boats have a chance to come back. Good of a solution as any. Now on the attacking side, Carry the Boats, in theory, have the side that is slightly advantageous here on Chalet. So, they are certainly not out of the woods yet. They still have a lot of work to put in here if they want to make this one happen. To start things out, over on the south side in Bar and Games, that's where this approach is going to have to begin. And for Carry the Boats, it's likely going to begin with a top floor clear if they want to make any sort of push happen. Oh, we're downstairs, actually.
It still requires a top floor clear.
Indeed.
That second and first floor, make sure they can't take control of that dining hatch, which is open, whether it be in the early round or a retake. Actually, right now, Senvale's the only one down below. Might be a bit of a feint, as there are defenders who are in position to rotate back, but Sweater opens it up with a kill on one of those roamers. Senveil's support in the case of a quick execute is dwindling fast. And look at this reposition. Drip moving over to the trench doorway. Couple players also rotating their utility over to trench side, but Mikey's now moved back to deal with the garage position. So likely a quick execute not in the cards, and Senveil with those impact grenades can deny the hard breaching for a good period of time. Carry the Boats do have a decent amount of intel though, and indeed Drip will just push on in and get that first pick.
Wow, Drip just goes aggressive. He takes the fight and wins it. He gets traded out, and Wimpy is down. Finished off now by Trevmac. So the early push did not work. We're even in a 3v3 now, a 3v2 as Inrio gets one more. Good awareness from Spiker to finish off Senveil too. So while the push may not have worked, seems to have end up working in the end. Trevmac is now the only player that can try to hold this off, and with the site no longer in his control, he has to somehow retake. Now that the diffuser has gone down, he's got to fight against three. Whoa! Two attackers sitting on the coverage. An insane shot onto Spiker. Can't watch two angles at once, though, so he'll fall to Inrio. But getting a nice little clip while he does it. Still can't end up winning the round. Carry the Boats. They narrow this margin by one.
And they notice what I was talking about, that Senveil is one of the only ones on site, and once somebody does rotate back, it's over in garage. If they just take that quick engagement inside of wine and come away the victors, they can get a round win. And it's a lot more hectic and a lot more bloody than I think they were anticipating, as right as they hit the execute, Chunnar Esports defenders were rotating back to help those players in wine. But because of that man advantage they acquired early on, even though they end up dropping some people as they enter the site, Drip also turning his back to Senveil. Once they secure that kill, they secure the 3v2 advantage, they have control of wine, they can get the bomb down, and then they can play the post plant. As Trevmac, oddly enough, I will say, on that hatch is the last one alive. Maybe would have expected him to have maybe a bit more impact throughout that round, but hey, in the chaos of an execute like that, things are going to slip you by at times.
Now, actually going to Barn Games.
Indeed. Where, as you said earlier, a top floor clear is important.
It is. It is very important. The question is, how much are Chunnar going to contest that on the defensive side? I mean, looking at the fact that there are 4 defenders upstairs, I'd say quite heavily. We saw the same thing from Carry the Boats on their defense. Obviously, it wasn't able to work out at the end of the day, but they brought the mirror window, they brought those Kiva barriers, they brought those Wamide magnets, the ADSs, and the frost mats. Every single defensive operator specifically designed to make this top floor take a lot harder for the attack. Now, Inrio walking in, just easily circumventing that. Yep, there it is. Easy headshot. Now he can work his way straight into bar, but Inrio not able to push past Senveil. A critical kill. A critical kill from Senveil that potentially could have saved this round from near disaster for Chunnar, but as I say that, Wimpy will make matters worse for this defense by finishing off Trevmac.
Does most certainly prevent a quick death for Chunnar the moment that Nook is shut down. Now Carry the Boats have to press the pause button, have to reset a little bit. Go with their previous, or at least more default strategy. Whitlock almost very narrowly got picked off by Spiker, but now Sweater with a couple well-placed shots to the head will take him down on top fireplace. Tragical, the only one still on this top floor. Now tasked with stalling as much time as he can without throwing his life. A difficult tightrope for even some of the most experienced players to walk. Now he's got to do it by himself. Senveil can help. If anybody hops in library, he can hold from the hatch or from that mirror window, but Sweater's also at the double window, holding this very position. Carry the Boats have an answer for all these problems, and somebody's got to overperform to give Chunnar the round.
Might be Senveil. Nope, no it is not. Spiker will quickly shut him down, finding his second kill. Tragical up above will get the trade, but he's not going to be able to stop this bomb from hitting the floor. Sweater, he had the coverage, and he finds the kill. Carry the Boats, that's back-to-back attacks. That is the equalizing blow that they were looking for. We are all tied up.
Spiker carrying with the tradition of bottom frag, talking the most in chat, but it's kind of like, it's all right. It's okay, because Carry the Boats are doing a very good job on these attacks, specifically in that one. They faced some trouble as they rushed in on the garage, or the wine execute through the wine wall. There, everything went according to plan. Every single aspect. Inrio rotating in and killing the mezzanine player while he's unaware worked perfectly. Wimpy getting a kill on one of those players on library side from his angle worked perfectly there. Sweater not even using his nades, but going on the rappel and holding a pixel between the reinforcement and the other wall in library worked out as well. Carry the Boats had a plan, and it does result in some timely rotations and gunfights given by the defense, but hey, if they end up giving you them, and that's what your plan relied on, I'm not going to fault you for scoring 100%.
10 seconds to go.
Gotta say, Carter, we've seen some absolute stinkers in terms of gunplay this game. We've seen some crazy shots.
Attacker's objective is to
I'm just Sweater in that last game. It was that pixel you pointed out. That was another one that was just
I don't know,
well
man.
placed.
Trefmax still got number 1 and 2 in my mind.
He does. He absolutely does.
From the same position, by the way, on two different sides.
Was it him the second time?
It was both on Alibi and on, I think, Ace or Zofia or something. From that position, was able to hit 2 shots. Drip as well. Oh, we're gonna get a Whitlock slander in chat. Never mind. Just to talk about the drone hole kill. He was making fun of Whitlock earlier. Thought it was gonna happen again, but he does take down the Warden. No smoke grenades for Carry the Boats to worry about, but won't be able to see through those flashes anymore. And also, though, with Tragical fighting back, this lurk from Inro likely won't happen at the moment. Instead, Carry the Boats will focus a bit more on that top floor clear, but if Inro finds something, he'll be okay.
Max spotted out by the drone, so he'll back off and elect not to get aggressive and hop out the window. It does make Drip play a little bit more patiently over there. He doesn't want to expose himself on the rappel if somebody is willing to jump out that trophy window at any given moment. Sweater now throwing his drone down below as he might be looking to make an entry downstairs to potentially join Inrio in that position. But right now, it's just that slow early game. Just working our way into the mid-round as Carry the Boats are now taking up additional positions inside the map, actually getting boots on the ground per se, rather than just sitting outside on the rappel, trying to take some space and potentially work their way up the west main stairs and potentially find a nade or two. Tragical, he's positioned over on the staircase itself though, so he's not going to fall victim to any sort of pressure from below, but a nice angle maybe could expose his position if the attackers hold it. Tragical, wary of that, is going to fight back on the very same angle, but it's Senvale who ends up winning the fight instead, shutting down Drip, holding the man advantage now for Chunnar.
The lurk not working out. Carry the Boats don't really have solid control in their hands. Not much on second floor, not much on first floor either. Wimpy still does have that exothermic, but this is all going to come from some very, very quick engagements, and I say this quite frequently this game, and I've said it last map and this map too. Somebody from Carry the Boats is likely going to have to overperform because in a 3v4 with not a lot of control, you've got to get a double kill if you want to win this.
Yeah, they just don't have the map control to leverage, Carter. You said it. They don't have really good positions to maintain. It's going to come down to swinging a doorway and winning a fight. Wimpy will start that off and turn it into a 3v3. This is a lot more doable. Doesn't make it easy, though. Wimpy up above is going to have to transition this control to down below, and they only have 10 seconds left to do it. Somebody's got to take a gunfight. Inrio does it and wins it. Sweater does too, but they have to find this final player with 1 second remaining. Wimpy finds the head of Senvale and Carry the Boats. Oh my, it came close. It came down to the wire. But they will take their 3rd attacking round in a row, and they will take the lead.
That's just one of those rounds, man. You're happy when they come, and you don't always bet on them, but if you get those kills, that is all that matters.
Oh my god. Yard literally mapped a hole in the big window castle.
That is an excellent point. Mapping a hole in the big window castle was a bold play to be sure. That unfortunately did not bear much fruit for Carry the Boats. But a good question. How did they lose that? Because that's one of those rounds that Carry the Boats, to be frank, they should lose. You should lose that. You got no control. You got no angles. Don't even have a man advantage. And yet Wimpy rotates up top, takes advantage of the Azami, focused on those floor holes, and then It's a 50-50 sure, maybe even a 40-60. But if you win the fights, you're not going to complain about a round win that you don't deserve.
Yeah, absolutely not. You are just going to take that and run with it. Because now they've taken the lead after a less than ideal first half. Or rather, a couple of rounds that maybe they wish they could have gotten back. Now they've got the lead. Just like that, it's like it never happened. It's like that first half never happened. Chunnar have yet to find a round on the defensive half, hoping that their second visit to the basement site is the one to do it. We're back to garage. We're back to wine cellar now. A round that was really capped off by explosive attacking pressure from Carry the Boats. We saw how they opened up that wine wall and just sprinted on through. Sure, that didn't work out at the end of the day, but they were able to use that control to finish off the round. And Tragical, well, unfortunately, a bandit trick will fail, and he will fall as a result.
Good nade play from Carry the Boats, and still have 2 left over. And they've opened this wall for play throughout the entirety of the round, just to sit here, work picks if they come, deny the control if need be. Trebek now put to low HP, considers taking a second engagement on that trophy window, but thinks better of it. This is a great spot for Carry the Boats as they're on the precipice of match point. Just delay the digest by a couple more months if you know the history behind that word. Fortunately, right here. Ooh, never mind. I was about to say for Chunnar, you have to play the waiting game to see what Carry the Boats does, but Spiker, he's certainly not waiting.
No, he's not waiting at all. Still 90 seconds remain, and he is crouch-walking his way all the way through blue right now. And he's gone completely unnoticed. There's a free kill. Now Chunnar are going to be aware of this, of course, but they're going to have to collapse back on this site. And Spiker, he's got a one-way to use. He's got this defensive utility now working for him because he is in a brilliant and unexpected position.
Wait,
Trevmac and Mikey, though, they will survive. Tacking on 1 kill each. Could be 2. He gets 1.
Yo!
And he finishes off the second. Spiker with a triple, and now it is just 1 more needed. Trevmac is already low. Spiker's got a bit of utility to work with, and he's going to open up a floor hole and now actually push the staircase. Trevmac wins it, though, anyway. The alibi hits the shot. And oh my, what a round from Spiker, but it will come down to the wire, and Chunnar will take it.
That's such a heartbreaker. I've never seen such a brilliant use of an Ash charge in a quick heads-up moment like that, and it still doesn't pay off. Even then, the lurk from Spiker to start out to find that not just one, but both sites are clear after he kills the Wamai in wine. Man, oh man. That was match point right there. In 2 different ways because of Spiker's efforts. And unfortunately, it doesn't pay off. Chunnar get their first win on the defense. On Garage, the first site that they played, and now move to Bar and Games. Thankfully for Carry the Boats, they've had success on every single bomb site that Chunnar have played. So hopefully, if you're a Carry the Boats fan, see just them replicate their efforts here and bring us to match point.
Yeah, they just got to put together 1 more round here, and they'll have a chance to not only win the map, but win the series and send Chunnar Esports packing. Still got to find a way to put this one together, though. On the second attempt at Garage, Chunnar were able to win it. Maybe the same holds true for Bar and Games. Second attempt here could bear some fruit. First time, it was Carry the Boats all day long, and we talked about the shots they were hitting on that top floor, how they aggressively were able to clear out that library hold thanks to a cheeky play from Drip. Rather, it was Inrio on the Nook at the time, who just kind of walked into main lobby and took the fight. We do have a Nook in play. It's on Drip this time. Wonder if we'll see something similar.
Certainly not in main lobby, but maybe similar later on. See some pressure over by the mudroom door, and Inrio creeping up the main stairs. They'll try to open a hole in this stock panel. Ooh, and they know somebody's on top main. It's meant to watch this very angle. They gotta be quick about it, but Senvail's quicker. Wimpy goes to peek that angle, and the hole Inrio's made is quickly plugged with bullets. Mikey can now watch this angle as well. He knows they might try something on main, so even if Inrio wants to use that angle, Chunnar Esports are not looking away from that position for the remainder of this round. And now carry the boats. What do you do? Go for that same library clear, maybe, but there are mirror windows in your way. Still players up by library stairs and mezzanine. Spiker thinks he might have an opportunity, but if he proves to let his hubris guide him, and indeed he does, when he vaults in, there's a player directly behind that mirror window that his team already knew about.
Yeah, Senvale getting 2 kills, and I mean, might as well give him a third. He goes down, but he gets immediately traded, so he can take credit for that one too. 2v4. Carry the boats now on the back foot, and well, they need to make something happen. It looked like they were going to secure map point, but now it looks like Chunnar are going to do the same. Inrio is now all that remains, and he's going to get sprayed down before he even has a chance to attempt to push that site. Chunnar Esports, what a turnaround in this map in these past few rounds. That's 2 in a row, and that is map point.
They've been in this position before, though. It doesn't mean it's a guaranteed win. This game, or this previous map, was won in OT by Carry the Boats. That was the first dominant Chunnar defense through and throughout from beginning to end. They will actually take a tack timeout as well, despite being the ones to make it to match point. Carry the Boats, in turn, will have a chance to discuss their attack and to figure out what they want to do. Oh, but the timeout was requested, unfortunately. Of course, it was a little too late for the Observer to call it, so they won't have that tack timeout, unfortunately. But again, they're on match point, Jonah, so all things considered, there are worse times to miss a timeout.
Yeah, I mean, tough to for Carry the Boats, at least, if they were trying to take a timeout. But no, it was Chunnar who were trying to make that happen. So yet to see Carry the Boats use that tack timeout. They didn't use it in that first game, right?
No, they did not. They did not.
All right, they're just gonna roll with the punches. It's match point. They're gonna just let it happen and see what they can do to fight against this. Well, a team that has now built up quite a bit of confidence. Chunnar have been gunning in these last 2 rounds. All they've got to do is put one more together. This final round of regulation, it could be theirs, but the start is not going to go their way. Wimpy quickly up to the main master window. Drip on the Blackbeard as well, trying to get involved. And they will claim the opening kill into Tragical.
Good pick to take down those magnets as well. Drip trying to just make a cheeky little hole inside of the office balcony door. Use that Blackbeard and that face shield to his advantage. And get an even cheekier pick. With the advantage of taking down Tragical and, honestly, a shockingly low presence on that top floor. Okay, that's changed now that Mikey's rotating over. I was about to say, surely Ben will just have one guy upstairs by himself. But no, that's not the case. But there, Drip sees one. Oh, but it doesn't pay off. The face shield saves his life, and now Whitlock is aware of that angle. But still without advantage and no magnets to burn any flashes or grenades. As long as they deal with those Kibas up top, taking control of this top floor, or at least keeping the Azami and the ward in that bay, won't be as big of a problem as it might have otherwise been.
Ooh, but Mikey will silence Inrio for good. The Sledge, a critical operator for a round like this, gone. Trebmac will add another to his kill total and remove Sweater from play entirely. It's going to come down to these final 3 players. Now the advantage turned on its head. Somehow Spiker doesn't get that kill and Senbel comes out on top instead. It's now Wimpy. He walks into the site, he gets a kill, but now he's got to worry about this pressure from up above. He cannot cover all of these angles at once, and the Blackbeard face shield is nice, but the gun is just bad. And so now Drip has to fight his way through a 1v3 with a not-so-good gun and a not-so-good position. Chunnar Esports, they're going to be sending us to map 3 in just a second.
Well, hold on, everybody.
Okay.
We don't know what Drip Boolin has in store. This is Monsieur DBK we're talking about. He saved map 1 for Carry the Boats. This might be the greatest Blackbeard we've ever seen. This might be the coming of a new legend in Rainbow Six right here. If with a terrible gun, he clutches a 1v3, maybe?
Oh!
He's put 2 down to 1 HP, knows the positions of a couple, everyone in the lobby. Okay, no, he doesn't win it. All right, Chunnar Esports, take map 2, 7-5. And we have map 3 in the cards.
Not going to let us get out of this one early. They're going to go the distance here, fighting for their lives in Element 1. Of course, we're going to all 3. Our first series didn't give us the full show, but this one, I mean, we gotta go the distance here. Villa, we're going to see that map again, so we get another map to compare to our first series of the night. But based on what we've seen, it's only going to be better from here. I mean, these two teams, they're going toe-to-toe on just about every site. No side has the advantage. They're just going back and forth constantly. And I expect Villa to be the very same thing.
Indeed. But, of course, that is map 2 done. We have Villa on the horizon. But before we get there, we will take a quick break. So don't go anywhere. Don't turn off that browser. We'll be right back.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone in affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone in affection, I summon and dub it. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Don't hang with a who line for nothing. I see that we different, you riding, I double. I don't do discussions on bragging about hundreds. Don't go to your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely could trust you. I talked to a shorty, she bagging the bugging. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I divvy the pie. I'ma give all of my people a portion to build them a fortune on flipping the ride. I can't be mixy when iffy the vibe, and 40 on 50 is really the time. Why are you all on my phone like you want me, like you wasn't pushing the kid to the side? I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling.
It took all 12 rounds to close out map number 2. It took, what, 14 for the first, 12 for the second. This series, I mean, we're going the distance in map 3, right? It has to be. We saw a lot of back and forth all throughout this game, Carter. We saw some insane gunplay, but we saw Chunnar Esports make a late game comeback and not let it slip away this time.
Not able to survive from losing 3 defenses in a row to then winning 3 defenses in a row. An excellent performance, though again, quite a few of those rounds, or at least a couple of those attacking wins from Carry the Boats, came down to the wire and very much could have gone Chunnar's way and made it an even more dominant scoreline. And that round, unfortunately, where Spiker made his way into the site and almost clutched a 1v3 afterwards, is now very much a missed opportunity in hindsight for what could have been an overtime game had either that initial execute worked or that 1v3 happened.
Well, nothing too shocking here on your overall map 2 statistics from the team perspective. The entry game, though, that would be the only thing that really catches your eye here. Chunnar, despite the victory, did not have as much success in the entry game as we saw from both of these teams on our opening map. I think we ended up going dead even on that first map. This time it was Carry the Boats to take the entry victory, although that was not enough to propel them to the ultimate win. You see Mikey there at the top of that Chunnar Esports leaderboard, 14 and 10. There were plenty of rounds, Carter, where I think you and I both said that Mikey is the player that won them the round, that he was that round MVP. And I think the statistics, they echo that sentiment.
Yeah, Drip has said it sardonically, but Mikey is very much having a career game right now on map 1 and map 2, dropping 16 and now 14 kills for 30 total. Though the rest of his team is somewhat faltering in the entry department, he's at least netted even in 4 entry engagements total. And on Villa, going towards this map, if we see Mikey maintain that same dominance in getting the kills, but also bring back some of the entry stats that we saw from map 1, or even just that we've seen through the league so far, boy, oh boy, are Carry the Boats going to be in a bit of a sore spot, because Chunnar Esports are proving to not be nearly as easy an opponent as I think maybe they were hoping for.
Yeah, this one was not as one-sided as I think a lot of us thought as well. I mean, looking at our predictions, we heavily favored Carry the Boats, except for Harrison, of course, but this one has been back and forth, and honestly, couldn't tell you who's going to take this one on Villa. Really no way to know. I mean, this has been totally back and forth the whole way. Frankly, Oregon looked like it was going to be Chunnar's map as well. Just a couple subtle differences, and this series is already over, and Carry the Boats are eliminated. Thankfully, of course, some of those subtle differences went the way of Carry the Boats, and they were able to take that first map, but only just barely. Now going into Villa, still anyone's game.
And on a map where sometimes those early engagements and getting maybe a quick grenade early on if somebody's playing too aggressively inside a trophy statuary, or if the main stairs position, for example, is easily felled by some utility and some grenades, the round can completely turn on his head. I do believe we have Carry the Boat starting out on the attacking side on Villa, so this will be a good time for them to not only start and widen a potential lead or gain a new lead, but also make sure that those opportunities that just seem to slip by them, that sometimes on Oregon went their way, but on Chalet, more often than not, those close rounds would go their way on attack, but then they'd lose them just as often as they win them. A lead for Carry the Boat seems to be necessary at this point, because when it's 3-3 or if it's 4-2 against them, it has been these close games every single time. And I actually just want to, again, to take a few more seconds, talk about how close Carry the Boat's games have been. 7-5 loss, 7-5 loss, 8-6 win, and then 7-5 loss again. All of their maps have needed 12 rounds minimum, and yet, so consistently, it is the little things that either get them over the finish line or cost them a victory.
It's come down to the wire, like you said, not only in those prior best of ones, but we've seen that in these maps and in individual rounds where it's just like that one small mistake or one small success is the difference maker between one round or another. The community seems to think that Carry the Boats still has this one, and I would say I'm inclined to believe them. In theory, the team with more experience at a higher level should theoretically be better at adapting to their opponents and rolling with the punches, but hard to say if that's what we're going to see from Carry the Boats here on Villa. We'll take a look at our operator bans, though, and actually get into what we are going to see on Villa itself. The Ying is that first operator to be banned, similar to what we saw on Oregon, and the Brava, just like we saw on Chalet, will be taken off the board as well.
So pretty much the same bans almost all the way through. Fenrir still maintaining that hegemony at the top of the Defenders banned list. Who will we have to round it out? Will it be Valkyrie? Will it be Solus? It'll be the former. Of course, Drip Solus will only be used in the second half of the game as Carry the Boats start out on the attack, but they don't have to worry, at least for those C4s through the floor. But that does mean that Azami is available on Villa, and easily out of those four, between Fenrir, Valkyrie, Solus, and Azami, Fenrir I actually can't speak to very well just because he's banned so often, but Azami is the one of those that has played the most often on the defenses on this map, the most often on Aviator games as well, and an operator that we will see picked almost every single round between Chunnar and Carry the Boats.
Attackers need to locate and defuse
Just like you said, Yazami, most commonly played on AVG, and that is where we are headed first on Villa. That's exactly what we have come to expect. The Mira as well, to combine with that additional utility from those Kiva barriers, could just be so frustrating to chew through as an attacking team. Just so much utility to worry about in terms of physical destruction you're going to need to get done. But now in terms of positioning, you've got to find a way to clear out those mirror windows, because it's something you're going to have to be constantly aware of when trying to push into the site. Of course, a couple of options in terms of that Mira deployment on a site like this. You could devote both of them to the site itself, or if you wanted to go for a more elaborate extension, like we are seeing somewhat of an extension, at least over towards the trophy and statuary side. In theory, you could put a mirror window over there to delay the push that side. But it seems like we're going to see the doubling up of those black mirrors on the Aviator and game side, as that is also where it appears Carry the Boats are going to initiate this attack.
I have to deal with the Jaeger and the Legion on main stairs and in the art hall respectively. Nades and drones already flying in. They'll spot the Legion, who will retreat very quickly, not wanting to give away his life, but he doesn't need to. Immediately, there's a sprint and a flurry of kills on main stairs, but by sheer brute force, Carry the Boats trade it out. Drip might fall, but they take main stairs control, and honestly, this early on with this little utility expended, that's a very impressive and very solid feat for Carry the Boats, and in no small part aided by the fact that Whitlock has a 416 instead of a shotgun.
Yeah, Whitlock holding that position. I mean, it's not usually where you're going to see your Jaeger, right? You're usually going to see that smoke or someone with that close range weapon in that kind of a position, because now with that control, like you pointed out, Carter, now these nades are going to pour on through. That's back-to-back nade kills for Carry the Boats. Now it's just Mikey and Tragical just dancing around this site, trying to avoid the nades, trying to avoid the crosshairs of this attack. But that is, of course, easier said than done. Carry the Boat, swift control of main stairs, swift control of the objective, and a swift defeat delivered at their hands against Chunnar Esports.
As clean a round as you could hope for Carry the Boats to start out on, main stairs takes are always going to be bloody. It's very rare that those end up in flawless rounds just by the nature of the push. You're basing a lot of your early to mid-round play off of taking main stairs by brute force. Nades, guns, whatever you can do to get the job done. It's very rare that you make it through without at least taking some damage or even losing a body. And so in this case, it happens. But trading it out, distracting Whitlock as he's can't just kill two people with 2 bullets like we've seen Packer do on that very position yesterday. He's going to take that. They're going to take that 1-for-1 and then use the nades soon after that they've planned in positions to take down the maps players or players deeper inside of the site. Excellent attack to start out for Carry the Boats. And I have to imagine we won't see a main stairs take again, but still just very good play.
And they're going to have a chance to do that very good play. Again, we're back to Aviator in games after all this time. I expect Chunnar is going to be a bit more wary of that main stairs take. We still don't see the smoke, which is surprising given that that would be an anticipated adjustment to a main stair push. You now have the smokes and the shotguns to delay any kind of pressure from that main lobby side, but instead, Chunnar will change things up elsewhere. They're going to bring out the Malusi, and they're going to bring out Tragical on the Warden. Now, the one thing they're going to have to be wary of, as we just saw, is the creeping Nook from below. Spiker has already made that entry and is likely to work his way up and try to surprise this defense if he can. Of course, Whitlock will strike first, though, getting a bit more aggressive, playing the stairs more actively, and taking down Sweater before he can get anything done.
Good pick from Whitlock, but there's Spiker on that Nook. Able to trade it back very soon after. That's Whitlock's cover down below. But there's still quite a bit of utility, yes, to make this position work. And then Spiker's not long for this world after. The Malusi barricades and the key bus. But what is this? Drip just walks up with a supernova with a 1-for-1. We're somehow back to a 2v2 despite all conceivable metrics.
Yeah, who knew? Just like that, it'd be back even. Mikey, though, changes that and leaves Inrio alone. Great shot from him again. Now it's the Sledge. It's 3-0 so far. Needs to find both Mikey and Senvale. And look at the defensive utility that's just still in play. I mean, the Kiva barrier still in pocket, now thrown out. Nitro Cell still in Senvale's hands. Inrio doesn't have any nades left. He's got that breaching hammer, but that can only get him so far on a site like this. Doesn't have any vertical destruction he can work since those nades have already been used. And with his final drone now in play, he's really just going to have to face check a couple of angles and try to pull out a miracle. He can recover the diffuser, but it's not going to get him very far. He does have one ping onto a position of one of these but as the time continues to run out of options. Again, he's got a ping. You can see that yellow ping through the wall. Knows something about this defensive positioning, but just doesn't know enough. And with these mirror windows, they know exactly where Inrio is coming from. Teasing this diffuser is simply not going to be enough. The C4 ripped, and that will force Inrio off of the plant. You just got to do this back and forth dance for the rest of the round. Hard to survive, even behind this vault door. Yeah, he'll step out while reloading, and Mikey playing the close angle will finish the job.
Foregone conclusion. Despite Carry the Boat's best efforts, getting that to a 2v2 is very impressive with how Chunnar Esports were able to start with a man advantage and then stop almost every effort from Carry the Boat to even the man count. But for the brief period of time where it was a 2v2, getting aggressive on that study position ended up proving to be Carry the Boat's undoing. Not a terrible mistake, not an unforgivable one, but still the advantage that Chunnar Esports had with Whitlock getting the kill on Sweater so early on. Every effort by Carry the Boats to trade was met with equal response and equal force by Chunnar Esports. They did decide to actually go for that main stairs take again, which I did not expect. But in the face of bad options and dwindling man count, sometimes it's best just to walk up main with a supernova and hope your teammate can carry the rest.
Well, that means we're switching things up. Victory on AVG means we're going to trophy and statuary now for Chunnar Esports' third defensive round. If Carry the Boats want to get aggressively like they did on that other side of the map, Carter, I mean, they don't have that same flexibility that they do on the other side of the map, really.
5 seconds left.
No, they don't. They can maybe play a little bit inside of Aviator games early on, but a lot of it, if they are going to be off-site, will be around the red stairs position or an Astro, which at this point hardly even counts as off-site, given how much of a staple those positions, especially Astro, are, as basically a de facto part of the bomb site and a necessary position to defend. So no, there won't be too much aggression, won't be a lot of off-site play if you count, you know, Aviator games as the main part of off-site and exclude Astro and Red from your positioning. Might be some players down below. Senvale just walks up to Astro window. and make Spiker regret even turning on the game today. There goes your Astro window player. There goes 2 sets of Ash charges. Thankfully, no Kiva barriers, at least, to worry about, but that's still somebody that, with Drip lurking down below and likely going for a solo play of his own, they're gonna wish they had to cover this powerful angle.
Yeah, now the shotgun on shotgun close range fight that's about to ensue.
He's watching.
Yeah, he's watching. He's ready. Senva will actually take it with the SMG-11, quickly winning that fight, making sure to be the one to do the swinging rather than to get swung. And he will, by himself, put Chunnar into a 5v3 position. A great start, just solo holding the Astro side. Carry the boats 2 individual positions. Well, they get punished 2 individual times. Make it a third as Wimpy just tries to vault into that closet window and immediately gets clapped. It's Inrio and Sweater, the only 2 that are going to be able to make anything happen for Carry the Boats, but in a 2v5 like this with Diffuser out of pocket, it is not looking so good.
Not at all. No grenade to deal with that shield. Chunnar Esports not even really feeling the pressure of holding any active angles or forward angles. Tragical will step into bedroom just to try and catch one attacker off guard. One player checks, and he does lose the fight and wishes he probably did more damage to Sweater than he ends up doing. But Inrio on low HP too. This is a good opportunity for Chunnar Esports to keep this advantage, to take down the Nomad. Even if Sweater trades, it's now a 1v2. Inrio knows somebody is on that Astro stairs, and as they reset and Sweater hits the drone, maybe Carry the Boats have something if they find this remaining bit of intel.
Just maybe. Inrio knows that that player is playing so patiently and knows his only option is to swing. Didn't clear his close corner though, so that means he is dropped, and Sweater is the last player that can do anything against this very, very powerful defense. Chunnar will not be stopped by this, and they will continue to apply the pressure. That's 2 rounds in a row for them, and that is the lead now on Villa.
Good game sense from Senvale right there. Of course, just also like good reaction to take down Spiker on that window. You just taken away a body for later and also stopped somebody from playing Astro Opel early. And then he thinks to himself, okay, it's early round. Nobody's pushing bathroom yet. Nobody's even in bedroom yet. Nobody's even done anything from that side of the map. I'm going to watch bottom Astro, not even because I expect someone to flank me with a silent supernova, just because my teammates can cover the other angle I can be attacked from. And what do you know? It pays off. That's why caution is good to think about sometimes. We'll see people get overwhelmed by angles like, oh, do I watch this? Do I watch that? And Senville, he just said to himself, my teammates have got one angle. I'll watch the other. And what do you know? When it paid off, that was basically Carry the Boat's main attempt to win that round back.
3 rounds in a row and 3 opening kills for Chunnar Esports, continuing, I guess that's success from the first map? I mean, it was Carry the Boats who won the entry game in map 2, even though they ended up losing it. So, I mean, really, I don't even know what that means anymore. I mean, these teams, I think they came into the day with 50-50 conversion percentages, both, and I think that pattern has pretty much continued. The entry fights, although important, have not truly dictated the course of these rounds, whether that's on Oregon, Chalet, or now on Villa. It seems to be really about the mid-round and which one of these teams is able to either take the advantage back or further the advantage that they had established early on. It really is about that mid-round when you see teams like Carry the Boats. They've been pushing in aggressively hard in some cases very early on, but then when that pressure kind of quells, when that finally stalls out, it really comes down to who is winning those next few engagements. Is Carry the Boats able to take that early aggression and continue it into actual map control, or do they just fall apart and get picked apart by Chunnar?
Well, certainly very direct right now. I don't know if they're just going to straight up run into laundry or what just yet, but it's all focus on this middle floor and kind of the exterior areas of the bomb site. Drip also on that Nook. carry the boats with that Nook can sometimes indicate a quick play, but no, he's repelled up to the top floor now. Instead, it's Sweater trying to find a wayward defender. There is somebody on red stairs. He's worried someone might be there, but does he check this corner? He might not. He might just assume it's clear. Man, if he checks this, he's really aware of all the potential possibilities. He'll remain blissfully ignorant. Distraction over inside of library, but Mikey remains. Carry the boats, aside from this one hallway, have nothing going for them right now. No vertical, no horizontal. Not a single Chunnar Esports player has even been pushed out of their position. And this entire time, Mikey is still prone on red stairs.
Oh! They didn't notice. Sweater, watch it. No! Somehow he wins it! Mikey gets jumpstered. No! Oh, it looked like a free kill. It looked like Mikey was going to just mop the floor with Sweater and whoever was lurking by him. Instead, it was Sweater who came out on top. Carry the boats, they'll further that by Inrio getting another, taking care of Tragical for good. Whitlock equalizes, and now Drip with 20 seconds left, looking to get this bomb down. Smokes come in, C4 comes in, and he will just run to the other side, leaving Inrio out to dry. Reattempting this plant now, but now isolated and executed. Chunnar take another.
I was about to say, even with Carry the Boats getting a man advantage at that point, even if they won the round, it would have been a round they absolutely should not have won. 2 minutes spent on... I'm not certain, to be honest with you, because they never took vertical control. The only horizontal pressure was Sweater, who was basically stuck inside of Piano the majority of the round until Mikey sprinted at him and missed that, honestly, easy kill he had set up perfectly by being misdroned and not even thought about before that Yana clone. And then they just send it in through Memorial, but again, similar to actually how C&E lost a dining defense all the way back on Villa in our first series, it was similar for Carry the Boats, just a little bit slower. Nobody cleared anybody in kitchen. Nobody from Carry the Boats cleared a vertical angle or offsite, and the only advantages they gained were gunfights given by Chunnar and then lost by Chunnar. But once the positions that had never been cleared were a factor, Whitlock in particular, they worked out as well as they should have.
10 seconds remaining.
Well, Chunnar, they're putting up numbers right now.
Seconds left before insertion.
They've now established a 2-round lead. If this series has taught us anything, though, it's that no 2-round lead is safe. Feels like every time one of these teams has jumped out to a lead like this, it is quickly been eviscerated by their opponents. We saw that late game, map 1. We saw it mid and late game in map 2. So, same story could absolutely transpire here on Villa. Carry the Boats, once again, looking to rely on a bit of a Nook surprise. Throwing Spiker on that operator this time instead of Inrio or Drip. Seems like everyone is taking their turn, rotating through. But Spiker, he's able to get the first this time. Senvale, that angle he's been playing pretty frequently up above, well, he's not going to be on it any longer.
Mikey and Trevmac also worse for wear after the initial bout of engagements finished. Sweater knows that the Jaeger is prone on top main. Not above the stairs, but on it. We'll go for the pre-fire, but now Whitlock's gun is up. Now he's crouched, he shifted positions. Oh, sees his head for just a second. But a key frag grenade is caught by an ADS. Sweater will send out his second, but there are magnets waiting to catch those as well. The utility burn is non-existent for Carry the Boats. Every single grenade between the Yana and the sledge caught by an ADS or a magnet. Mikey and Trevmac might both be on low HP, but Whitlock is more than happy now to sit in this position with all the burn wasted, and though he still loses his life, Chunnar Esports don't gain much from it. Is it a poor utility clear? Sure. But is it a Carry the Boats round? God damn it, it just is.
They pull it out at the end, despite disaster on main stairs, disaster strikes. They I don't know if they assumed there was no ADSs, no magnets, or they just didn't care, but every single nade got burned. Every single nade. And that meant that all 4 of the defenders up above, 2 of them who were low HP, as you pointed out, Carter, they could sit there happily. They didn't have to worry about any nades coming from below and finishing them off when they were already so low. But as you pointed out, didn't matter. Once that utility burn went through, once Carry the Boats recognized the problem that they had in front of them, they just brute forced it. They just said, let's just send it. Let's just walk up the stairs. Utility isn't going to get it. Let's just do it with gunplay. Let's just walk. Let's just walk up the stairs. And it worked. It worked perfectly. They took gunfight after gunfight, and they only lost 1 body pretty much for the remainder of the round. So already neutralizing this advantage that Chunnar had secured. 3-1. Now it's 3-2 as Carry the Boats are able to put together their second successful attacking round on Villa, and they'll look to trophy and statuary to try to secure their third.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb. 5 seconds left.
Maybe G.
Attackers are heading out to defuse
We're going to be
the bomb.
Carry the Boats bread and butter, save for one other round. I have to imagine this is a 4-2 half for Chunnar Esports. They will change things up a little bit too. TrevMac bringing that Echo, not only for plant denial, but also to allow for some off-site intel if need be. Trip running the Amaru back as well. Just sends it into... Oh no, just onto the roof. I was about to say, I didn't hear a window break, so I'm not sure where that was. Just sends it up onto the roof. He is not creeping up through the depths again. Oh man, Wimpy is kicking himself after that one. Not doing their due diligence. TrevMac even spots another on the Astro window. That's... Is that Spiker? Oh no, there's somebody outside on the roof as well. So can't get shotgunned from that far away. But it's again Carry the Boat starting themselves in a disadvantage. They've only got the opening pick 2 rounds, and it's only resulted in a win 1 singular time. So Carry the Boats are in a rough spot. Because what do? Do a direct in a 5v4? Go for a rush in a 5v4? Either way, Chunnar Esports have the utility to stop a quick execute, and they have the advantage to stop a long one as well.
Oh, and they're doing a great job of repositioning too. Mikey moving that deployable shield over from that AVG side, getting it involved where the outward of horizontal extension. Sweater's gonna take a bullet and is going to be perplexed as to where that was from exactly. Oh my god, Mikey gets away scot-free. Playing really close on the doorway, backs off, and just barely gets away with his life, but every single bullet missed. So he is just fine. Chunnar as a whole, they are fine, sitting back and waiting. They are very comfortable right now with a lot of utility, a lot of information, and all the manpower in the world.
Mikey finally suffering a lot of damage, but some dealt back to Sweater. Ever so low does Mikey fall. It's still Whitlock the first pick, and Drip only goes 1 for 1. Chunnar Esports hold their lead and widen it. A Spiker takes a gunfight. Tragical better on the long angle, and the ones he can't even see. Not even his periphery is a Carry the Boats player. Pre-fire doesn't land, but it simply doesn't need to. They've got Inrio dead to rights. They've got his position known. A kill and a yokai. Hey, that's good for the stat padding. If Cost got you more than 1 point around, he'd be at more. With the Fuser trapped in sight, his position known, angles all giving him away. It's only a matter of time before Tragical gets his man.
4th round, secure. Successful defensive half for Chunnar. And it looks like today the big lesson, Carter, is that Villa may have been attacker-sided coming into the day, but it's going to be defensive-sided coming out of it. At least that's what Chunnar Esports are hoping to make sure happens. Maybe they can make it back to attacker-sided if they can put together a few more rounds here. The point is, defenses have really been working across the board. We saw in our first series, and we're seeing it again now. Chunnar, despite the onslaught of pressure they've had to deal with from Carry the Boats on both sides of the map, really just varying it up round by round, they have come out on top. They are just playing more controlled. They are simply playing better right now. And Carry the Boats, they've had small things that have gone well for them. They've thrown in a little cheeky nook play here or there. They've done something like that, but it's just not been enough. Now it's come down to the defensive side. They're going to have to get it flowing again. They're going to have to try to find their rhythm because they're down by 2 rounds right now, and they are 3 rounds away from potential elimination and potentially getting first rounded.
Yeah, our second team eliminated will also be our first invited team eliminated after a series of extremely close maps. That'd be all she wrote for Carry the Boats inside of Element 1. Looking to catch Chunnar Esports off guard with a quick kitchen and dining pick in round 1. Wimpy spots one. Down goes Whitlock. He's looking for a trade, but
Okay.
oh no! He gets too aggressive. Mikey gives a heat check, and we're back to a 4v4. There's a lot of C4s in Carry the Boat's pocket, at least, so losing him for that secondary utility, there's enough redundancy to account for it. And there is still one player holding this position as well, so they take down some useful secondary, or some useful primary utility, but still, that could have been a 5v4 had Wimpy just listened to the voice advocating for caution.
Yeah, Wimpy doing a little bit too much there. Doing a little bit too much. Hit one nasty shot with the SMG-11, so he's like, oh, I can hit one more. I can take a long-range fight that's definitely going to favor the AR player. So yeah, he checked it. So that's a good way of putting it. It's a good way of putting it. So that one will turn this one back into a 4v4. Carry the Boats will not be able to maintain any sort of lead for very long. And Sweater, careful here. He's going to miss the headshot. He's got another chance, though. No, Senvale's going to escape with just a sliver of HP. He's actually going to hop back in the same window, trying to get a bit more aggressive and maybe catch Sweater off guard. But even supported by TrevMac, it's not enough because Sweater has backed off. He's playing a bit more of a passive angle, and he is waiting for Senvale to round the corner. Now he's got Diffuser. Now he can call that out to his team, and now Carry the Boats. They have pretty much locked this one in because I don't know if Chunnar are going to be able to get this kill, get this Diffuser, and get this bomb down in time.
We'll say definitely Senvale with Diffuser on 1 HP going for a solo clear of Sweater. Not the best move to make in the mid-round. At least he falls, and at least Chunnar Esports recover the Diffuser. But look at what they're working with. No real vertical pressure, and though it's been vacated, not enough time to rotate up. Inrio with that heartbeat scanner who can beam all the intel to the rest of the defense, and also 3C4 so that they don't even need to take a gunfight once Tragical walks in. He might escape the bear mat, but there's some more utility with his name on it.
Well, and there's a crossfire with his name on it as well. There's somebody close on the other side. That's going to be Inrio on the pulse. Just goes for the swing right when he needs to. TrevMac is taken care of just as the other kill was found as well. There it is. No 2-round lead is safe. Carry the Boats. They'll start to claw back in. They'll take their first defensive round.
And off the back of a big individual play from Sweater, of course taking out Senvale, but also just able to stand in that position for as long as he was. Once the initial droning phase passed, of course droning in the prep phase, or droning after the prep phase, not in the prep phase itself, but once that early round passed and he had not been droned, there's a decent likelihood that Chunnar Esports would focus on other positions and let him slip by. So once Sweater decides to deal with some of the backline lurkers, moving in through Art, who would have tried to apply pressure on the opposite side from the rest of the execute, works out very well. He gets that kill, and now he's just wasting time. He takes down Senvale, who I think thought he was a bit more invincible than he ended up being. Overall, just a very good showing for Sweater. And also, good job mitigating the early over-aggression from Wimpy.
Yeah, didn't get him into too much trouble after all. I mean, even though they lost Wimpy, they did end up getting a pretty impactful kill, taking off a good bit of utility, good bit of manpower. Always a gamble when you go for that early pressure, especially as a defensive team. You're really playing that, all right, can we afford to lose a body if we get a kill, if we go 1 for 1? Is it really worth it? Especially if you're not wasting a lot of time, right? If you're able to waste time and go 1 for 1, that's exceptional. But in the first 30 seconds, if you get traded and you go 1-for-1, that's when the questions kind of come into play. Generally, though, a man advantage is going to favor, or rather, a 4v4 is going to start favoring the defense, especially as time ticks low. As an attacking team, it does get a bit more daunting when you have fewer bodies just working your way against the defense and against the clock.
Oh, Spiker, you sweet summer child, do you know what you might just walk into? There's a man on Astra Rappel, if I do believe. Oh no, he's gone now, so never mind. There are plenty of drones that have heard Spiker sprinting around this area, and he will have to back off. Nobody from Carry the Boats otherwise on this part of the map. The important parts are contesting top red and contesting 90, but Inrio put to very low HP. Hopefully we see Carry the Boats do good work stopping anybody from taking quick control of red stairs or outside of statuary. Here's that rappel, but falls off very quick. The Kiba destroyed and Drip shut down. Sweater also on low HP. He'll throw out some impact grenades alongside an extra Kiba. There's already been a lot of damage done in terms of kills and utility destroyed, no longer having those yokais, but the maps player table gone too. Chunnar might execute a lot quicker than we anticipated, maybe even in the next 20 or 30 seconds.
Oh, especially now that Spiker's been finished off. He dropped down trying to go for the high-risk, high-reward play, but, well, that's the consequence if it doesn't go well. Now you've lost another body. Make it 2 as Inrio finds himself the final player to stop this attack from finding purchase on the site. Great shot from Inrio, but he's going to have to find 3 more. And that is simply not going to be possible. Chunnar will make this attack happen, and, well, they'll make sure to keep that 2-round lead we talked about. It's 5-3.
Keeping pace. On track to close this out in regulation if they can keep just taking individual blows against Carry the Boat. They've also knocked down AVG too, and after winning their tertiary site, Carry the Boats can feel good about that. But do they go trophy statuary or do they try AVG again? It's the latter. We'll try this setup again, which wasn't bad. It was a fine setup. It was exactly what you'd expect on Villa, but the individual positioning wasn't there. Drip caught rotating across the skull door as Chunnar Esports flooded the empty space, losing that Azami on maps. Those are 2 powerful positions that you need to survive to the late round if you want to stop an execute happening before then.
Doing away with the Solus this time as we rotate back over to Aviator in games. Pretty significant change here in this lineup. We're not seeing the Mira that we saw from Chunnar on their side of things. The only real standard selection here, I guess, would be you've got the Smoke, you've got the Wamai, you've got the Azami. Spiker pivoting over to the Cap Can just to keep us on our toes as well, throwing down those EDDs, trying to get a bit of chip damage, maybe even get a kill or a down onto one of these Chunnar attackers as they work their way in the building. With Aviator in games, though, question is Chunnar going to go direct? If they go direct, the Capcan traps are not going to find much of anything. Well, I think we have our answer. We can see those outlines. We know exactly what they're up to. It is going to be Trophy and Statuary, a full top floor clear all the way.
Moving from north to south. This is where Chunnar Esports found themselves in a winning position last time. Drip is assuredly not going to find himself an early death on the skull doorway. He is tucked safely inside a vault. Also bringing the bandit to make sure that Chunnar Esports can't use Senvale Selmas and open up the vault wall to basically cut the core rotation, the artery and vein between Aviator and Games. To keep that solid, keep that a viable rotation for the defense. Sweater's got to hold out here. Got to make it to that final 45 seconds. Then he can die. Then he can lose his life. That's okay. But playing behind these Kibas, denying top red, that's gotta happen. Especially with Chunnar Esports taking this control so fervently.
The control and now the first kill. Spiker silenced for good in round number 9, and Carry the Boats now find themselves down a man again. Chunnar Esports already finding 5 rounds, 1 more, and they'll find themselves on match point, series point, elimination point here. That is if they can continue that kill and find a bit more control, use that to get a bit more momentum. 60 seconds remain, that's ample time, especially with the control they already have now that they're forcing these defenders back into more uncomfortable spots. Second to last smoke grenade will come out. The Toxic Babe will delay a bit more time, but there is still a lot for this attack to work with.
There's Dokkaebi calls to provide intel. Once this smoke grenade elapses, just 1 remaining. Oh, a lot of damage dealt by Mikey. A lot of damage dealt by these impacts. But once that smoke grenade is gone, they should be able to flood in. But the Kibas again wasting time, but Drip shut down.
Good shot from Tragical. 3 more left to find, 20 seconds to do it. Tragical will make the entry first. Close behind, that's Senvale to get a kill. Diffuser now going down, and Inrio hoping to have a chance to stop it, but Whitlock from behind will time his flank well. Pressure from both sides, just too much for Carry the Boats to deal with. Chunnar Esports, they move ahead to match point.
Their decision to repeat Aviator games does not pay off. They get to go back to Kitchen, but now AVG or Trophy is certainly a question mark.
Sticking.
Holy shit.
Yo, baby.
Good fucking
Let's go.
shit.
Yo, Senville, good
Nice try,
shit.
try.
As soon as I said watch that shit, we did it.
Excited Mikey. Very happy with his performance throughout the day. And Chunnar Esports, as you said, Jonah, finding themselves on match point, and Carry the Boats finding themselves on elimination point. They lose any of the next 3 rounds, they will be our second team eliminated and our first invited team. I guess not really to achieve the distinction, but to achieve the unfortunate circumstance of being the first invited team eliminated from Element 1. They've won Dining Kitchen. They got to go back to this bomb site, but the 2 primary bomb sites, one having lost twice and the other not even being attempted once yet, this is a bad position to be in for your defensive site rotation.
Yeah, no kidding. They are just not... They just haven't been able to find a comfortable spot. They won the first round. That's it. They've yet to hold another site successfully. And they are out of time. They are out of time, as you pointed out, Carter. They do not have a cushion to play with anymore. They have to go flawless. And they have to get 3 rounds in a row. And based on this performance so far, it's not looking likely. It's...
Well, this is always the burden of being on the back foot. You want to get aggressive. You want to make big plays that your opponent won't expect, that'll give you an advantage and keep you in the game. But if they don't pay off, you might just be in for a world of hurt. Spiker, they've spotted him. Oh, no! Seemed like he threaded the needle. 3 players surrounding him, none aware of his presence. And then a drone appears right in the center of his vision, and he is punished for his attempts to bring this game back. Drip also spotted on red stairs. He's not long for this world either. And it seems Carry the Boats. Minutes are numbered.
Lives numbered. Inrio so low. Wimpy will get 1. And we know he can come in clutch in a situation like this, but he's going to have to. It's a 1v3. He finishes off 1 with the shotgun. Trevmac gets downed, walks into a frost mat. It's a 1v1 just like that. Senvale, he's got the pings. He knows exactly where Wimpy is. But you gotta beware of Wimpy. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's done this before. Senvale will creep his way around Tetris, trying to remove some of this information. Minute 15 to work with is endless time.
No C4?
But he's got to consider if he wants to go for this res or not. No C4 in the hands of Wimpy, so Senvale knows if he tries to get this down, Wimpy's got to expose himself, but he does it, and he wins the fight. Wimpy makes it happen yet again, and Carry the Boat survive.
A frost mat to the right of the doorway. Man, if that's not a way to give Wimpy and help him in the 1v3, oh boy. Carry the Boats. They still got to win 2 rounds, but the efforts of Wimpy had a nice shot to round that off, and a frost mat might just be their saving grace. because Chunnar had a very good clear, mostly because Carry the Boats were giving them all the gunfights they wanted. Sweater on the main door, Spiker flanking, then getting cut off, Drip only going 1-for-1 on red stairs. If Chunnar Esports wanted an easy roam clear, Carry the Boats, put it on recruit difficulty to give them as much of an advantage as possible. But they got their dining kitchen win off the back of a 1vx, but now their only options for the remainder of regulation are Trophy Statuary, a site they haven't defended, and if they win it, AVG, a site they've lost twice.
Yeah, the future doesn't necessarily look bright for Carry the Boats, despite a slim margin of victory in that last round.
10 seconds to go.
Wimpy proving to be very clutch. Rossmat's also proving to be very clutch, as they can be in a situation like that. Definitely a bummer that Chunnar didn't check that corner when they were walking into laundry, but even with plenty of time, you're just walking into a doorway. You're not going to necessarily look in every corner you work your way into. So sometimes it happens like that. So Chunnar will have to do this one, at least on the next match point, on their second attempt to close this one out. Oh boy, a quick trade. Whitlock gets actually Spiker gets the first, Whitlock gets the second. So you do have the opener from Carry the Boats, but Chunnar quickly neutralizes.
I'd take that deal. Rooney already placed her gadgets in exchange for Mikey, who was their only set of nades. I'll make that deal. How about you, Jonah? You make that deal? Alright, he doesn't mess with me like that. That's my bad. That's all good. Drip backs off. Whitlock not able to get that kill. Lets the Warden rotate back to site. Not a lot of players directly present in Trophy Statuary itself, so that does mean if Inrio wants to keep on this roam, he can. Mostly because Chunnar Esports have also moved to a direct take. Sweater looking to, again, make one of those plays. That might just be able to give him the advantage, but oh boy, there is a Claymore ready and waiting for him. And he falls just as soon as he hops out. I believe Jonah might be having some internet issues, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
We are good. We have survived.
Oh, he's back?
We're back. We're
I
back.
literally posed a question to you and you didn't respond. I was like, wow, that's a bummer.
That's awkward. That's awkward. But we're back, and ooh, Spiker. C4 goes out, neutralizes that advantage, and we're back to a 3v3.
Feedback. Neutralized any advantages gained. C4 is also gone for Carry the Boats. This might come down to Astro. If Whitlock can get the control, he can take down Drip, but no, it's not possible. He's traded out 1v1, and a Rooney Gate might be in the attack's way. Inrio's just around the corner. Hall silenced, but they know the attackers are in bathroom. This engagement might just decide the fate of the game.
Tragical. He was tempting fate there for a moment. He knows what lies in wait on the other side, but he's going to force it, and he's going to fall. Inrio stays alive, wins the fight, and Spiker goes down, so this will decide it. The 1v1 with 15 seconds. TrevMac has the case in hand. Inrio has boxed himself into Astro, but is safe to maintain that position. All he's got to do is deny this diffuser from TrevMac. He'll stick it. Inrio knows it's happening. He's got the pings. He's going to rotate all the way around. He spots the head and lands the headshot. That's round 11, and that is yet another round that Carry the Boats will just eke out, surviving to the final round of regulation.
And all that is separating assured defeat and hopes at remaining in Element 1. For at least one more best of 3 is a site that Carry the Boats so far have not won a single time. Living Room Library could be in the question. They could have gone to it, but no, they will try AVG a third time. And if they win it for their first, they'll make it to their second overtime to save a map and their chances in Element 1. The big issue for Carry the Boats has been how quickly Chunnar Esports have taken control of not only Trophy Statuary, but then applied pressure to maps and the 90 corridor. Maybe if they try to deny trophy statuary, not long, maybe for 15 or 20 more seconds. Play a bit more passive on that maps table to force Chunnar Esports to burn more time. Maybe that'll boost their chances, because Chunnar Esports have been in the position to execute sometimes by a minute 30, if not a minute left in the round.
5 seconds to insertion.
Chunnar Esports, they've come so close. They are still on the precipice of pushing themselves to yet another round in Element 1. But they're also on the edge of disaster. If they let Carry the Boats take yet another round, they complete the comeback, they go into overtime with all the momentum. I mean, how are they not going to close it out at that point? Carry the Boats would love to see a repeat of map number 1. They'd love to see a repeat of Oregon, but Chunnar, they've got to stop it if they can. Mikey's going to do it with that. He'll do it with a quick headshot onto Spiker, not allowing the Legion to roam freely on this map. That is a critical early kill, single-handedly shutting down the entire roam that this defense tried to put forth. The only other extended defender is only subtly extended, taking a position in 90, but that's just about it. Aside from that, Carry the Boats are playing this one pretty passive, and Chunnar should have control to, like you said, Carter, get in an early position to execute for the 3rd round in a row.
This 90 position and the maps position, this is make or break at this point for Carry the Boats. They are either relying on Chunnar Esports to stall out or these two positions to hold fast. 90's been given up. Nobody's playing top main. Inrio could rotate over there, but he's in study at the moment. Sweater's got to get a kill here, and TrevMac's head falls to the floor. Holding out Vault 2 will be imperative for Carry the Boat's successes at the moment. If these two positions can hold, and Inrio as a 3rd can hold out and study, they might have what they need. But there goes Sweater's head too, and it might be all she wrote for Carry the Boats if Wimpy can't hold out.
Wimpy's gotta survive here, hoping the smokes are enough to allow him to escape. A second nade comes in though, and Wimpy is already so low HP, so dangerous right now for him. Just holding on by a thread, but Wimpy finished off. Inrio soon to fall, and it is all up to Drip. He's clutched one of these moments earlier tonight, but it's going to have to be the 1v4 if they just want to hang on. He gets one, but he will not get the 3rd. Chunnar Esports will close it out on Villa. Goes all the way to round 12 to decide it, but they will survive yet another day in Element 1. And it will be Carry the Boats eliminated in the opening elimination round.
If you had told me in the 1st round of elimination games, in the 2nd elimination game played, that Senvale would eliminate Drip and Sweater from Element 1 alongside T2 Warlord Wimpy Kid 2 on Twitter, I would simply have not believed you. But Chunnar Esports, with this victory, have proven that, hey, had they played that game against Wildcard Aces, they probably win. But if they find themselves in this position, they can still perform in best of 3s, even if each map goes the full 9 yards. Carry the Boats also will end their Element 1, run off of 5 map loss, or I guess 1 win, but 5 maps played that all went at a minimum 12 rounds. And if that is not the definition of a heartbreaker, I don't know what is.
Heartbreaking defeat. Match after match, game after game, round after round. And that will be the final defeat they suffer in Element 1 this season. They will, of course, be our 2nd team eliminated. And yeah, it's gotta hurt. I mean, after coming in with so much potential, as you pointed out, Carter, with so much expectations and a good bit of trash talk to follow it up, they just could not deliver on the performance that they had hoped. Villa, just not the map that they needed to close this one out. They nearly made the comeback happen. I mean, 2 of 3. That's, I mean, you're 66% of the way there when you're in the end, but they just could not close it out. Chunnar Esports just proved to be just too much of a challenge to overcome, and also proved that, sure, an unfortunate set of circumstances made it so they could not play that second best of one. But as you pointed out, Carter, maybe they would not have ended up in this point, in this spot today, had they actually been able to field the roster for that game.
Let's go.
Good shit, guys.
So, Chunnar Esports survive, Carry the Boats fall, and it's close games throughout the entirety of this series to finish us off. Of course, we're not done with the entirety of the show yet. Still got to do the post-mortem of this series and a lot more other housekeeping to deal with after finishing our first full game of best of threes. And of course, hearing from some of the players later on. We got the map stats to talk about too. Chunnar Esports boasting a fairly solid stat line. And again, winning on the entry department as they've maintained fairly consistently throughout the entirety of the game. But overall, able to also maintain a decent amount of impact, 72% cost across the entire team. I mean, Jonah, whether it was individual moments in getting kills or getting traded or things like that, it felt like everyone from Chunnar Esports did have a say in that game.
100%. I think we'll see it in the full team stats here. Everybody put in the work, right? You had 11 and 7, 12 and 11, sure, double digits, but 9, 8, 7, everyone's putting up the numbers. You could argue the same thing for Carry the Boats, right? Nobody less than, 6 kills, but yeah, it was a team effort. Not only in the entry game, you see pretty decent cost numbers all around, but yeah, it was a strong performance. And I know he's not on the list right here. We know that Coach Gunner in their ear, I'm sure, contributing quite a bit to their victory. So it really was a team effort, and that's why they are still alive. And even though we saw some pretty good numbers put up by Carry the Boats as well, it just wasn't enough.
Was not enough indeed. And overall for Carry the Boats, again, given the big names on this roster, as I mentioned, Drip and Sweater, of course, but also Spiker as well, player who just finished his first stage of Pro League, Wimpy and Inrio, mainstays in Tier 2. Those two especially, not having them around for the new NA Tier 2 League will definitely feel weird. But Carry the Boats, their legacy for this stage of Element 1 is unfortunately a lot of close games, a lot of what-ifs. But once they found themselves in the position, it was still close, but they don't end up winning it. We do have an interview lined up with the winner from Chunnar Esports. You know him. You love him. He's the man dressed in a suit and a stylish hat. Mikey, my friend, you look like you just got done conducting a very official business meeting that you got the advantage of.
Yes, you're correct.
I saw you laugh right there. You can't pretend like you're hard like that. I saw you. I know you're trying to be all stoic after Senvale just relegated Drip to nothing for the next couple months. But how do you feel after that win, Mikey? It's got to feel good surviving another day.
I'm ecstatic. I'm motivated. I'm pleased. I'm beyond happy.
Glad to hear. I'm glad to hear. Very soft spoken, but always professional, Mikey. So, as we talked about in the broadcast, this was actually your second game in Element 1 as you had to forfeit against Wildcard Aces. There were a lot of questions. Okay, we've seen them lose to Karn & Co., and now they're going in a best-of-3 with a deep map pool. Do they really have it?
Yes,
before I even get there, I was about to ask, would you beat JJ if you didn't forfeit? Would you beat Wildcard Aces?
JJ? Is that a question? I mean, respect to JJ, that guy been playing the game since he was born, all that. So, respect to JJ. It sucks, Not gonna shit talk him when he's down. Oh my God. But, yeah, I think I would have won.
That's good to hear. And now that you do play Carry the Boats and you've managed to come away with a 2-1 victory in a best-of-3, given the fact that this roster seemed to be put together very quickly before Element 1 quals, how much work has been put in to prepare you guys for a deep map pool like this? How much work has been... I'm trying my best to stay focused as I see you make animations like that.
Yeah, we were prepping every single day. We double scrimmed every single day.
Every single day. Double scrim every day.
Yes. Anyways, we were scrimming nonstop, dry running from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. from dusk to dawn.
Wow.
So we were on the grind for this win. Unfortunately, the forfeit was unfortunate. I said that twice. I had work because I know some people don't have work, and unfortunate.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate. Well, hearing that you guys
I'm here now, I'm ready to win, and I'm back.
He is. Mikey's back. Far away from the Lenny GG days, but he is here and he is ready to play.
All right,
Mikey.
Comment, but okay.
Mikey, hearing that you have a schedule that is rivaling the Poison 9 to 5 on Aerial Arise, what do you have to say to everyone watching who's seen you and Senvale and the boys achieve this victory, who's going to continue in Element 1? What do you have to say now that you have the floor?
I have to say I'm proud of the boys today. We really did a lot of hard work. Vivid, shout out Vivid. He's our coach. We just added him along. A lot of good help he's been giving. The one time we did scrim, it felt really good. So, yeah. Overall, happy with the win. I don't know who we play next, but looking forward to it.
The one time you scrimmed, the one? I thought you said it was. I thought you said it was 8 to 8.
One of many scrims.
Oh,
that's what
okay.
I meant.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't led astray at any point in this.
No,
interview.
of course not. We're grinders.
Grinders indeed. Well, we hope to see you grind a bit more in these best of threes. Thank you very much, Mikey. Congrats on the win, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lynx.
Yeah, no problem. Oh,
We're here on to see the stats from this series overall. Mikey with some parting words that I don't know if people could hear, but we could hear in Discord.
He said goodbye, Jay Swizzle.
that was it. But I mean, looking at the entry overall, I gotta say, totally even. Surprised about that, considering how it seemed like Chunnar was on top in that regard, heavily on Chalet and Villa.
I mean, this is almost a better way of making the point that we've made a few times since the game ended. I mean, look at how close this game was in every conceivable stat. 0.05 difference in rating, 2% difference in cost, less than 10 kills separating Carry the Boats and Chunnar Esports, and the same entries, as you said. I mean, it doesn't get closer of a loss inside of an entire league than this, let alone an individual series or an individual map. Sweater obviously leading the stats and also showing that maybe if he had been able to play in that second game, that maybe they wouldn't even be here. Once they found himself here, unfortunately, Spiker and Drip were not really able to stand up to the tests placed in front of them. And put a nice little bow on it. A good series of consistent performances out from Chunnar Esports, because even though we had Trev, Mac, Whitlock, and Senville all going negative, they all had moments that we could point to, whether it be individual impact or big multi-kills, or a big 1v1 win, in case of Senville, that we can all be very happy about, and say that, hey, if they're scrimming 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, this Chunnar Esports that's putting in the work, it's certainly paying off with results.
Yeah, I don't think it's too surprising to see very few plants across the entire series. I mean, with these three maps in front of you, I mean, in the meta we're in, first of all, but really it's these three maps. You're not going to see a lot of bombs go down. A lot of diffusers go down with, total of, 5 plants across both teams across 3 maps. That's a pretty low number, and one that, that's pretty much how the game has been going, especially with the maps that have been playing. I mean, same thing goes for Cafe, which is now, I think, the second most played map in Element 1 so far, with Chalet being number 1. Very similar in terms of the aggression, in terms of the play style, and what we've seen from all of these teams. It's very frag focused, and if you don't have a chance to get the diffuser down, don't worry, just hunt for the kills. That'll work.
Oh, if you just tuned in for the second series or the final map, this was our last best of 3 of the day. We started with a 2-0 for Cinta Negra Esports after beating Sway, and then a 2-1 victory for Chunnar Esports, beating Carry the Boats. Both those teams will move on, or Chunnar and Cinta Negra will move on from their elimination best of 3s, and we say goodbye to Sway and Chunnar. Tomorrow, of course, Jonah, we have our 2 promotion games lined up for the watching, for all the viewers. Triple G versus Aerial Arise, and Carnival, the artist formerly known as 1HP, versus SSG Academy. This day is going to be very interesting because 3 of those teams, not Carnival, unfortunately, sorry guys, but 3 of those teams, the other 3, are all slated to be grand final contenders for Element 1 as a whole. Full stop. And one of them will lose their series tomorrow. Maybe even 2. Carnival has it in them. We'll have to see if they really are all they're cracked up.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to watch. And I know you said this earlier, but for those of you who weren't with us, don't forget about what we're really all interested in. I don't know if you've got your tickets yet, Carter. Rumor has it you might be signing autographs there, but I'll definitely be looking in to getting that autograph from you when I go to the Atlanta Major. The Copenhagen Major was awesome. We saw a lot of teams, but the energy that the North American scene brings You mentioned Charlotte earlier, Carter. I mean, I've got to agree with you. This is going to be electric.
I gotta say something real quick.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of talk about how EU crowds have better chance, how EU crowds have more energy, how EU crowds have this, they have that. And you know what? I'll acknowledge that NA chants aren't the most inventive. But you know what I heard a lot of at the past EU events? Let's go. So, like, if you're gonna hate on the chants from North America, maybe concede the real point, and that we've got the energy, we've got the hype, and let's be honest, come November, we're gonna have the teams as well. Unless W7M takes it, which they probably will. But if they don't, it's gonna be an NA team, I guarantee it.
We also have the ultimate hype man in the crowd, Adam Jazzman Jassim, so keep an eye out for him. I'm sure he's gonna be there, riling up the crowd.
Shout out.
You gotta do it. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Another amazing day. Day 6 of Element 1. Cannot believe we're here already. Tomorrow, day 7, promotion games. And then we're going to be back next week, 4 days in a row of just back-to-back-to-back best of 3s the whole way leading up into playoffs. So just stay tuned. Stay tuned on R6 Esports NA on Twitter. Follow us here at Rainbow 6 on Twitch. A lot of co-streamers, a lot of fun ways to engage with this content, so I'm sure you can find a way to watch. But thank you all for watching another incredible day, and we'll see you next time.
I